Welcome to 1984, ranking our top 10 favorite movies. Everyone on the panel picked 10 movies, and each of those movies, depending on how many people picked them, will get a rank. If one person picked it, it's a D. If two people, it's a C. 3 is a B, 4 is an A, and 5 or 6 is an S. S is what they want. S is the best. We're going to go around the panel really quick and let everyone introduce themselves. I am the Prophet Director. Ruler of Mars, controller of the money situation at Cobra, and to my I guess to you people it would be to my left, but it's to my right for me. Sergeant Curtis Schultz. He keeps my Crimson Guard in line, and Curtis, why don't you tell them about yourself and your channel and where they can find you?
I don't like to take long walks on beaches. No.
I don't believe that. That's not what it said on your dating profile.
It said you like pina coladas and getting lost in the rain.
All right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did that. But I'm pretty much a movie lover. Always loved movies. You know, it's always been a family thing here, you know, or with my family since, you know, I was little. My grandparents, my parents, my brothers, you know, my friends. Always watching movies. You can find me on Sergeant Curtis Schultz on YouTube or Star Wars Squawk Box or both. All you gotta do is put up Squawk and it shows up. And that's about all I got.
All right. Well, and he forgot to mention that he's trying to kill me, but I guess he's trying to keep that on the down low still. Moto, how about you?
Oh, you can find me always hanging out with Star Wars Squat Box, M3 Reviews, or 3 Live 405, or here lately with Prophet Director. Loving this 80s decade. Shout out to movies that we're doing. Other than that, I'm outdoors. I'm fishing and hunting and taking it all in day by day.
Fantastic, my friend. How about you, Digital Caveman?
I am the Digital Caveman. Greetings to all. You can find me on youtube.com/@digitalcaveman. Make sure you put 2 N's on the end or you'll go to some other Digital Caveman crap that's not me that you don't want to watch. So make sure to get that double N going on there.
Great stuff. Great reviews, too. Check him out on his channel, folks. And next to him, an actual caveman, Ed of Geek Homeworld.
So easy a caveman could do it.
That was my M3 impression. I'm who am I? I'm
only on Friday nights, man. Only on
Friday nights. It's hot in the city. You can find me. We're Geek Homeworld. I'm Ed of Geek Homeworld. You see the link there. You need to smash that link. Smash whatever you got to smash. Hit them buttons. Ding them bells. And subscribe. Smash. Hawk says smash. You can find me at youtube.com/@geekhomeworld4248. And I talk film, TV, and tech on my podcast and all that good stuff. Been doing it for 16 years and rolling and 11 being here. And this is the greatest decade of films and the greatest year of music, in my opinion. Who's next?
Nice. M3, why don't you tell us who you are and then shout out the chat.
Hello, my name is M3 Reviews, and I collect dolls from 3.75 inch all the way up to 24 inch and getting bigger as we go. You can find me here and in the Banger Society, loving it. Shout out Rob78, shout out those studios. Digital is here and there. Geek is here and there. And it looks like that is all for now who is in chat. But curious to see how it's going to go tonight. I do like 1984. All these movies were great. I was talking to my wife about them. She felt the same. It's great. Great year. Thanks, Robert.
Fantastic.
We had
we have a pretty good show tonight, but last time, excuse me, we said that if you put your top 10 in the chat or in the comment section below the video, that we would bring up your top 10 here. So after we take a look at this week's thumbnail, we'll go ahead and get into our chat participants' top 10 lists.
We have Daniel Berry here as well.
So, Curtis, if you want to share that screen.
Yep. There we go.
All right, so yeah, this is the thumbnail for the week. I always try to have the thumbnail have something to do with the films that came out that year. So as you can see down here, we've got the Ghostbusters busting Freddy Krueger, while Slimer hides behind Sergeant Schultz and I, and Bill Murray hitting on a woman decades younger than him. There's a joke in there, but I think it would get lost in translation.
Oh, boom.
So moving on. One of the people, look, Curtis, there's a top 10 list here that's not part of ours. DFS gave us his top 10 list, which consisted of Ghoulies, Missing in Action, Conan the Destroyer, Beverly Hills Cop, Amadeus, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Lost Empire, Ninja 3, The Terminator, and oh my God, Nausicaa, the Legend of the Wind. Nausicaa, Legend of the Wind. So this is DFS's top 10 list. Anyone
Very nice.
on the panel have anything to say about DFS's list?
Pretty
Very
damn good
good
list.
choices.
I like it. I definitely like a lot of those
That's
movies.
very familiar to a lot of folks that I
Yeah.
think is going to happen.
Right,
tonight.
I'm sure somebody has a similar list.
Amadeus.
Shout out to DFS for
But,
sending us.
Next up, we had Doe Studios top 10 list.
Dope.
And Doe gave us Johnny Dangerously, Revenge of the Nerds, Romancing the Stone, Purple Rain, Nightmare on Elm Street, Gremlins, The Last Starfighter, Beverly Hills Cop, The Terminator, and Ghostbusters.
See,
I think a lot of us have similar lists
Right.
to Doe's. You know, he's not as on the edge as DFS by far. You know, anybody have anything to add about Doe's list?
Good list. That's all I can
Yes,
say.
very good.
very
Solid.
very competitive with everybody else's. And this was, speaking of competitive, choosing 8 was not a problem. But when you got 25 good movies left and you got to pick 2,
Yeah.
really, really tough.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the hardest it's been for me so far was that the MCU list we're doing in 2 weeks. In
Ooh,
2
that
weeks,
was tough.
folks, we're doing the MCU as a break from the 80s. So be ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Rob
moving on,
78.
we've got Rob 78's list.
Shout out Rob 78.
And
Rob.
Rob gave us The Last Starfighter, Starman, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Gremlins, Conan the Destroyer, The Karate Kid, Purple Rain, Dune, Ghostbusters, and Terminator. Again, a happy, healthy list.
Yeah.
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 So yeah,
You can
yeah.
see,
I guess
you can see the 8, and you can tell the last 2 for everybody. At least for
Right.
me, I can see it.
Well, anyways, and there was one more person who put a top 10 list in the chat there in the comment
yeah?
section.
Daniel Barry.
Brian King did.
Oh, Brian.
However,
Right.
as you can see
Shout out
here,
King.
the format that I'm using only allots for 10 films. And he decided to double up and have Gremlins / 16 Candles. And it was more like a top 14. If you don't stick to the top 10 format, your top 10 won't make it.
And you
Anyways,
dominated.
moving on. Oh, look here, Curtis. I decided to throw in my top 5 television shows of 1985.
Oh, okay.
84.
84, I'm sorry. What a dumbass. Ripley's Believe It or Not. I watched this show religiously. Absolutely loved it.
Amen.
Yes, we used
Anyone
to
else
watch
watch
that every
Ripley's
week.
Believe It or Not
Oh
back in the day?
yes,
Oh,
All the
yeah.
time.
tons of it.
Oh,
Tons of it.
I mean, it's the bottom of my top 5, but it's definitely in there. Then we had Who's the Boss? Much like every other young boy my age, I had a crush on a certain character in the show.
Oh, yeah.
The older lady?
Yeah, absolutely.
Speak
It was
for yourself, Ed.
100% Angela. But anyways, then we also had Moonlighting.
Yes.
Back when Bruce Willis actually cared and put in effort when he was making films. Great show though. Sybil Shepherd, amazing.
Yeah.
And then Night Court. Like, who didn't watch Night
Great.
Court? Like,
Great.
was there anyone on this panel who didn't watch and love Night Court?
I
Emily, you're
watched
shaking
it.
your head. No, did you not watch Night Court?
did. I even like the new one.
I watched it when I could.
Oh, all right. He says
Same
thumbs
here.
up. Good. All right. Well, and then the last but not least, everyone's favorite, Cheers.
Where everybody knows your name.
I mean, you know, I mean,
You're always
Curtis,
glad you
you
came.
beat
I'm
that
talking about, you know, the pre-Kirstie Alley Cheers.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
talking Sam and Diane
You're
Cheers.
talking about
Yeah.
Coach and Sam.
Yeah. Good Cheers. Good Cheers. Well, you know, it was still good with Woody. It just like Kirstie Alley sucked. She was terrible.
And you forgot the greatest character of all, Fraser Crane.
Yeah, he did spawn out of this show. That's pretty
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But you know, anyways, look, Curtis, I also put on my top 5 hits from the Billboard Hot 100 of 1984.
Okay,
But keep in mind these songs all had to come from the Hot 100. We've got Quiet Riot, Come On Feel the Noise.
Yes.
Yes.
We've got Genesis, That's All.
Yes.
Mhm.
Van Halen, Jump.
Yes.
Cyndi Lauper, Time After Time.
Yeah.
And Elton John, I guess that's why they call it the blues.
Mhm.
Anybody got any comments on my picks for music?
Pretty damn good.
Oh,
picks.
all good picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
Outstanding.
you know there's
It was
things on
hard
other
to limit-
people's lists that would
it
have
was
bumped
hard-
some things here, but
It was hard to pick only 5, I bet.
Can you say the first 5?
it
words?
was. But you know, I didn't want to start out a whole separate video. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I just did my own real quick, just as a little jump to see what remind people what was on the radio at the time. You know. But anyways, look, Curtis, the films that didn't quite make it.
Oh shit! Probably.
No shit.
Get the 80s vibe going. What, the Breaking
Right,
News
it's
didn't make
funny
it?
that,
Electric
Breaking and
Boogaloo.
Breaking 2 both came out in the same year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dune.
Dreamscape didn't make it, huh? Damn.
Ice Pirates. Ah!
Ice
I
Pirates.
so
Stay away
wanted to
from
put
this
that
phone.
in there.
The ninja.
Amadeus.
Street Fire was tough,
Yes.
bro.
You just-
Yeah.
That was a coin flip for me.
Yes.
Ghoulies.
Children of the Corn.
They will
Goody-
get you in the end.
Chud.
Yeah, they will. The toilet.
I did a
Yeah.
knockoff of that.
I
with,
was trying to go for the most generic
Hard
80s
body,
synth
almost
music
put
you've
that.
ever heard. Did I succeed?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
you are generic.
It is
Really radical.
classic, man.
Totally awesome, dude. Radical.
Oh, for sure.
Supergirl. No, that one didn't almost make
No,
anybody's
that
list.
ended up in the toilet with ghoulies.
Is it actually?
Missing in action. Oh, you just don't know how close I was to.
You know?
What's that one?
Goldie, huh?
Protocol, Woman in Red, Sheena.
Sheena. Gosh, that was tough.
Better luck next time, losers.
Don't.
Hey, look, Curtis, we're moving on to our feature presentation.
Oh
Dun, dun,
yes.
dun.
Oh, nice.
HBO ain't got nothing on you.
Right, my production values. This is like
Exactly.
millions of dollars here.
It looks like.
So, anyways, the first movie on any of our lists tonight, this was picked by Curtis, Night of the Comets. Curtis, why don't you tell us a little bit about Night of the Comets?
I thought I did this already. Oh, Night of the Comet is this comet comes over the earth and it throws out this red dust. And like if you're outside, I guess it turned you into like a zombie state or a zombie or something. But then again, it had something to do with some scientists. Some of it didn't make sense, but it was great. And these 2 girls survived and they get in a mall and they run into these guys and they try to kill them. And then they meet another guy and he helps them out, and then they run the scientists, the bad guys, and then at the end, they live happily ever after. It's a good cheesy movie to watch. If you like horror, you'll like this. It's kind of got that Maximum Overdrive type feel to it to me, a little bit. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I'd suggest you take a watch.
And hey, if you like hot 80s chicks in fluorescent clothes, this is a movie for you.
Yeah, the one chick is really hot, man.
But Moto Viper, anything? Have you seen Night of the Comet?
Oh yeah, that was a very hard. That was another one that almost made my list. Flip of the coin, it lost because I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah,
it's a great story in an era of every 2 weeks a new scary movie is coming out in the theater, and this one still holds up. I find myself when it comes on, I find myself leaving it on TV and watching it.
you stop what you're doing.
What it is but that they're people who are sheltered in pure steel. They didn't have to worry about the effects of the tail of the comet running through the Earth's atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So those who are partially covered are the ones who become the infected. The scientists knew that it was coming, so they built an underground bunker, but they didn't think about their air filtration system. So they got the comet's tail infection. But everybody else turned to pretty much red dust on the spot. If you were outside, you got vaporized. And
kind of like Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
Yes. And then
Nice.
It becomes kind of dystopian. And then, like Curtis says, the action does get heated, gets involved. There's a couple good jump scares, and then and it's also about that 80s youth revolution at the same time, so
Nice. And just so you know, chat, the action Moto's talking about is a double entendre, because there's plenty of other action as well. Digital, Have you seen this movie?
I have, and I enjoy this movie. Like Frank was talking about that. If I flipping channels or whatever, and I happen to catch it, when I used to have channels to flip, and caught that on, I would stop and watch it. And one thing I want to point out about this movie, and a lot of people probably don't realize it, but the truck driver, the guy that shows up to help the two sisters, is Robert Beltran, who went on to play Chakotay on Voyager, on Star Trek Voyager.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
So,
Ed, how about you? Have you seen Night of the Comet?
Probably several times during the 80s and a little bit since, but it's kind of a quintessential movie of its time. It really kind of showcased the 80s, and it was a fun horror movie. I'm not a big horror fan, but it was like a fun horror movie to me. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the 80s had a very distinct look. I've often said that all the drugs that people did in the 70s came out on their clothes in the 80s.
Yes.
M3, have you seen this film, and what did you think?
I have. I seen it a long time ago, and the brunette is perfect with her 1980s look. I'll stop there.
Bring back
nice.
that hair.
Anything going on in the chat, M3?
Let's see. Not really. Rob78 says Night of Comet was good. Seen it a few times. Doe Studio said same. And Travis showed up. TKD Bar showed up.
Nice. Welcome, Travis. Welcome, TKD Bar.
Welcome.
All right. Well, Curtis was the only one that picked this film, even though everyone seems to like it. So it gets a rank of D. The next film on the list is Bachelor Party. This was one of Moto's picks.
Yeah.
So, Frank, why don't you tell us a little bit about Bachelor Party?
Okay. Well, this young man is about to get married to a very wealthy girl, a very endowed family, if you will. But he's a good at heart guy, Check him out. He is down for a good time. He's going to make sure his buddies are going to have a good time. I mean, he brings out a donkey. Poor donkey ODs. How they get that damn thing out of the hotel is hilarious. But it's everybody. There's a group of the buddies. You know what I mean? Now you look at this guy here. He's totally different than the guy in the suit. He's totally different than Tom Hanks' character. Then you got this guy coming up that's the waiter. The guy that's the waiter is like the athletic jock. You know what I'm saying? But they all get together for their buddy. They party. Tom Hanks plays good boy, proves himself in the end, and then everybody once again lives happily ever after. But after one hell of a great party.
Nice. Digital, how about you? Anything to add about Bachelor Party?
I do not. I've actually never seen this movie.
What?
Really?
I've never seen it.
Wow. All right. Ed, how about you take it over, man? You've seen this, right?
I have. It's one of Tom Hanks' funniest movies when he made funny movies before he made the serious.
Oh, that part right there was sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, you're fine. Yeah, I'm always told that I'm cool. Thank you. But yeah, this is a fun movie. This predates what's the one where they kill the guy and he's dead? Weekend at Bernie's. If you think about the donkey in here dying of the overdose, and they had him around, he was still partying. Party doesn't end because life does, right? But anyway, yeah, this was a fun movie. It's you watch it today, it's a little dated, but it's just still a good laugh, and it's very 80s, and it's Tom Hanks. It's funny. It's great.
Well, the cool thing now is at our age, if we go back and watch those situations, at least for me, it makes those situations even more hysterical than at the time of shit. What was I, 11? Watching this movie?
I have a question, Prophet. Is it Jeremy Piven in there? I think that's his name. The guy that played Arliss. Because it looked like he was so. Bartender. I was thinking that it looked like him in the trailer there.
Well, Curtis, why don't you tell us what you think, and then I'll give my thoughts on it.
Okay, I saw this, at like 10 or whatever, and I thought it was hilarious. And I'm sorry I laughed, but I saw the clip in the trailer where Tom Hanks, he knows this Chippendales guy at the men's strip club or whatever that his wife is at, and her mother's there, and he tells the one Chippendale guy to put
his name is Nick.
Yeah,
and he's known
for having a foot long, and he sticks it in a bun, and she's like looks at it and she sees it and she's like, oh, and then she's like yanking on it and can't let go. It's like funny. It's a great movie.
It is
comedy.
good stuff.
Good.
Yeah, this movie, it's like Tawny Katane before she got on White Snake's hood.
Yes.
More ways than one.
The crazy thing about this movie to me is I never felt that the bad guy was very intimidating because I'd seen Real Genius first. And the bad guy in this was Kent in Real Genius, who's then you couldn't be more of a dorky loser than Kent, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it was really hard for me to think of him as a threat at all, but the movie was still hilarious.
Yeah, do you remember?
It was the 80s, so lots of TNA.
Yeah, do you remember the little short guy with the glasses?
Oh yeah.
M3.
In the bedroom.
Have you seen Bachelor Party?
I have. I saw it really, really young, like probably 10 years old, like Kurt. And I remember being at my friend Chad's house and sitting down on the couch and watching it, thinking I shouldn't be watching this because I was like a churchgoer and stuff, which is great. But yeah, I did see it. I only saw it the one time, and I remember thinking it was naughty.
Naughty.
You were hanging out with
anything new going on in the chat, M3?
Brian King showed up. He said hell yeah. And then everybody's acknowledging him, saying hello to him. Shut up.
How's it going, Brian King?
What's up, Brian King?
Nice.
All right. Well, it was only Moto that picked Bachelor Party, so in spite of it being a hilarious film, it gets a rank of D. Next on the list is one of my picks. I'm the only one that picked Footloose. I'm actually pretty disappointed by that. Ren McCormick, city boy, moves to a small town because mom is broke. He finds out when he gets there that dancing is illegal. John Lithgow, he plays a preacher who blames dancing and partying on a car accident that killed his son. So he's made it illegal, typical bullshit, bad thing happened, so let's let no one ever do it again, as if, it's the thing's fault and not the idiot person. But he winds up teaching the whole town that dancing is great, and even gets John Lithgow off his ass. I actually had this man's haircut. That's how much I liked this movie as a kid. And I actually probably got a couple of dates because of it, so I'm not complaining. But I'll move on from there, and I will say Moto. Actually, let's go down to Ed. Let's start with Ed this time. Ed, what did you think of Footloose?
One of the best soundtracks of all time. There's not a bad song on the soundtrack, and the music's so much part of the movie. I could have put it in my top 10. I didn't, surprisingly. I don't think it's a great film, but it was a great film to watch. It's a great fun film to watch. It's very 80s, and I understand why the mom was unemployed in 84, but in 2024 it'd be much worse. They wouldn't even be able to afford music. But it's just a great fun film, and it's a film that's followed Kevin Bacon and propped up his entire career. He'll never get away from Footloose, and thankfully so. It's a fun film.
I want to say I knew I could count on you, Ed, and that's why I did not mention the music and went to you second, because I knew you would. Yeah, and it seemed to be the year of broke moms, because Daniel LaRusso's mom was broke too. Digital, how about you? What did you think of this film?
Oh, I love Footloose. It's a great film. Again, like you guys were saying, the soundtrack is phenomenal. And, it's one of those where Kenny Loggins was king of the movie soundtrack.
Yes.
During the 80s.
3 number one hits, 3 films.
So, and everybody's heard this song, and I'm sure everybody, pretty much the world over has probably seen this movie, and it's a great movie. It really put Kevin Bacon on the map.
Mm-hmm.
For everything that he does in the future after this.
I can see that for sure.
And,
Nice.
like I said, great film. I wanted to pick it, but there was just too much shit.
It's a tough year. 84 is a tough year.
It's tough,
Very tough
man.
year.
Moto, how about you? Have you seen Footloose? Did you like it?
Love this movie. I love the story that it tells. The happiness and joy that it comes from music and dancing and expression, and not keeping yourself bottled up. To let yourself go, to let yourself become foot loose, man, and be free. For it is written in the Bible, as we find out. And it took some struggles, but what he had to do is he had to start with the girl, and then from there the friends, and then let everybody understand that it is okay. It's okay to party, to be foot loose. And he takes on a small town, and the small town changes its ways. It's a great story.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that he used the Bible against the preacher to make it on, to get the dance on. Also, you mentioned his friends. His relationship with Chris Penn in the film is fantastic. Him teaching him how to dance throughout the film. Awesome shit. Curtis, what about you? What did you think of Footloose?
Hey, man.
Was that Cartman?
All right.
No,
We're gonna...
It was a great movie. You guys pretty much covered everything except for the preacher's daughter, who was like the worst person in the beginning of the movie. She was just mean and a bully, pretty
Boy
much.
singer.
And anorexically skinny to a level of unattractiveness.
Oh yeah, you ain't lying for sure.
M3, how about you? Why don't you give us your thoughts on Footloose and then catch us up with the chat?
Sure. I've never seen it, so there's that. And Daniel Berry showed up. Hello, Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. How's it going, man?
Daniel Berry.
Nice. All right, so I'm the only one that picked Footloose, so sadly it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, we've got one of Ed's solo picks, Johnny Dangerously. Ed, why don't you give us a little 1, 2, 3 on Johnny Dangerously?
This movie is so full of one-liners. It's one of those quintessential 80s films. We've got Michael Keaton being hilarious before at the end of the decade, he became the greatest Batman of all time. Johnny Dangerous. I'm surprised more people didn't pick this. It's kind of slapstick crazy, and probably the funniest line is there's a bunch of fireworks going off, and Joe Piscopo, and he was still funny and relevant back then. He's like, looks like Johnny's getting laid. And I think it's hilarious. I mean, if you have not seen this, I challenge you to see it. It's hilariously funny. And it's just, it predates the Naked Gun films, which I think are comedy classics. And this could be right in the line with those films. So check it out. Johnny Dangerously.
Definitely.
Nice. Digital, why don't you give us your take on Johnny Dangerously?
I've seen this maybe once, so I really don't, I don't have much to say about it. That's pretty much it.
All right. Moto, have you seen this film?
I have, and it's parody after parody after parody. But I've seen this movie once, just once.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the running jokes in the film that's funny as hell. We actually just saw one. My father put me on a hook once. Just once. Right? But yeah, it's a pretty hilarious movie. Huge cast, like just massive cast of characters. Great film overall. I can't really say anything negative about it. I love the cinematography, like the look of the film. It's nice and crisp and colorful. It's great. I love it.
It's a great movie.
Curtis, how about you? Anything to add about Johnny Dangerously?
I've never seen it. I do want to see it now. And Michael Keaton was the second best Batman ever. That's all I gotta say.
Except Adam West.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson is number one. M3, have you seen this film? Can you give us your thoughts and then give us a checkup if there is anything to check up? Yeah, you're muted, sir.
I know. I haven't seen the movie either. And shout out to Animal, who's here. He said, no one mentioned the playing chicken on the tractors. I guess that was Footloose reference.
Yeah, that was for Footloose. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Good times.
Nice. Well, Johnny Dangerously, as good a film as it is, was only picked by Ed, so it gets a rank of D. Next up, we've got one of M3's picks. We've got Police Academy. M3, why don't you give us a rundown on Police Academy?
Yeah, it's great. It has a lot of the people in there that ended up doing movies elsewhere after. I love the Winslow with I get his name wrong, but the guy that does the beatbox, the voice edits and shit like that.
Yeah.
It was
Michael
cool.
Winslow.
It opened up for some titties. Really good comedy. I love the show. It was great, but that's classic. If you got the camaraderie of all the guys going to the police academy and shit, and they're like they're like lackeys, and then they end up fucking doing really well at the end and all that. It's pretty iconic to me. I loved it. Great movie. That's all I got.
Nice. Well, while M3 enjoys a dance at the Blue Oyster, Curtis, why don't you tell us what you thought of the film?
I thought it was really funny as a kid, Mahoney and all them, and it was great. The cop with the big bust and all that stuff, and yeah, it was a fun movie when I was a kid. That's all I gotta say.
Nice. I really liked Hightower. He's one of my favorite characters.
Hightower, yes.
Also the gun nut, the gun crazy dude. He's hilarious.
The real skittish lady on there. What was her name?
I thought it was kind of. We'll get to you, Ed.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it was whatchamacallit, really funny and probably a terrible idea that Steve Guttenberg got into the police academy to avoid jail. Probably not the best people we want to have as cops. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that's I'm moving on. Moto, how about you? Did you like this film?
I love this movie. I loved it. I saw this with the old man, and it had us both busting up. I mean, it's another one of those things. Like every scene's a different skit, but at the same time continues the story together from beginning to end. It was just slapstick humor and sexy, raunchy comedy. This one's for the cops, for the men in blue.
Nice. Digital, how about you?
You know, at the time, I don't know if I could go back and watch it now and find it as funny as I did back in the 80s. But I mean, you've got Steve Gutenberg's character, which I can never remember his name, but you've got Hightower, like the scene where he's trying to get in the little compact car and he has to rip the front seat out and sit in the back seat to drive the thing. And Tackleberry with the guns, and the old lady, hey, my cat's stuck in a tree. And and just crazy stuff. I mean, Lassard giving his speech at the podium loaded with a hooker, and just hilarious stuff.
Right. And can you think of a more police name than Tackleberry?
I know, right?
Right. I actually know a cop whose last name is Spoonhauer.
And
Oh,
all the names are spot on to the characters,
Right. Ed, how about you? What do you got to add about Police Academy?
like I was gonna say earlier, was there was the short lady that was real soft spoken. She had really small voice, but then she had to get like real loud, and nobody expected it. There were so many of those gigs like that, and it was just hilarious. The dude that Winslow that makes all the noises. I mean, I was watching the trailer there and just remembering some of it. The only bad thing about Police Academy is there were too many of the films across the 80s. They weren't great going on, but they're fun.
Right.
If you just want some really good comedic fun, turn your brain off, you'll have fun with Police Academy.
Well, and sadly, the sequel trend is not one that seems to be dying anytime soon.
No.
Not at all. No.
M3, anything new in the chat?
Doe Studio, Sam Newsman is here. What's up, Sam? How you doing? He says Michael Winslow is a vocal phenomenon. Doe Studios, it says Michael Winslow was even on America's Got Talent as well. Nice. Cool. Shout out you guys. Thanks and Rob 78 still, he's like, it's cool. Oh yeah.
Oh, and it looks like Sam says the Kenna Police Academy line was incredible.
Nice, Sam.
Cartoon.
He does like his retro toys.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that line.
But anyways, M3 was the only one to pick this one, so it gets a rank of D. Next up on the list, Purple Rain. This was one of Ed's picks. Ed, why don't you give us a rundown on Purple Rain?
The movie that the studio did not want Prince to star in. They wanted John Travolta to do this. And it would have not been the same film at all with John Travolta in Purple Rain. It's semi-autobiographical of Prince. It's a masterpiece. Is it a great film that deserves an Academy Award? No. But it is a fun film. The soundtrack is beyond phenomenal. It's historic. Prince is a freaking genius on another level. And they wove the music into the storyline of the film, and it just highlights what Prince's life was like and just the badass that he was and all that. So Purple Rain's masterpiece. So 80s.
Nice. Yeah, I can't imagine John Travolta in the role. John Travolta in high heels would look ridiculous. Digital, what are your thoughts on Purple Rain?
I've never actually seen this movie.
Why are we friends?
Right.
I know it's a shock to everybody, but when I was growing up, some movies in this type of vein, we just it wasn't
look,
allowed
my
in my
friend,
household. So.
It's never a bad thing to admit that you're wrong.
Exactly.
So
Moto, how about you? Have you seen Purple Rain?
I cannot honestly tell you that I've watched it from beginning to end. I've seen snippets here and there throughout my life, but I probably listened to that soundtrack 1,000 times. But I've never really sat down and watched this movie from beginning to end. But I can tell you the story and what it's about. You know what I mean? It's just not one of those that kept me entertained. You know what I mean? I was ready to go outside.
Were you hanging out at Lake
Nice.
Minnetonka?
So my impression of this film, the soundtrack is probably the best of the entire year. The very first time I ever smoked weed in my entire life was to this album, right? So naturally, there's some fond memories there.
Was that the Darling Nikki?
It's basically the story about a guy, a musician, who watched his father be an abusive prick his entire life and grew up to be a pretty chauvinistic asshole himself until he grew a little empathy and saw how his actions were making his two female band members feel. And he finally gave them the credit where the credit was due and played their song. Great character development, surprisingly good performance from someone who's not an actor. But yeah, I actually love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Curtis, how about you?
Oh, I love this movie. I saw it back in my breakdancing days, and
I can't see you breakdancing.
And it was at the time it was great. The soundtrack, I mean, shoot, and they introduced so many other talented artists, and I thought it was great. I thought it was just every bit of it was great, from music to production, all that stuff. It was just great story. This is a
in the time.
back in your younger adulthood, you could play this stuff and get laid,
Let me show you.
And what about that one song that they took off the album? It's back on there now, but they had taken it off the album. Darling Nikki, you guys remember that song?
Yeah, Darling Nikki's the song I got high to. That's the very song that I got.
It was on the album. They didn't take it off. They tried.
No,
to ban
they
it.
had to. They had to take it off for a while.
Dude, I bought the album. Well, I bought the album and it was on there because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm
It was on there.
listening to
Let's
this.
not start a debate on what was on the album. We're talking
It
about
was on there when it
M3's
first
turn.
It
M3,
was
even
on
if
there
you
when it
haven't
first
seen
started.
Purple Rain, I'm sure you've heard the album.
And they
Why don't
took
you
it
give
off.
us your rundown and then get us caught up on the chat?
Sure. I've never seen Purple Rain, but I did watch the video where he sings Purple Rain, and it had a lot of clip and excerpts from the movie. So that's cool. Ex-Daredevil's here. How you doing, Dare? I haven't seen you in a while, man. And Rob78 and Ed. Yeah, Kurt was a breaker. Eric. You got to check Eric. Check him out.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
That's all I
No,
got.
I don't want to see Curtis breaking nothing.
That's true.
Right
Well,
at his
just-
age, it's likely to be a hip.
Well,
But anyways, Ed was the only one to pick Purple Rain, so it gets a rank of D. Moving on, the next one on the list is one of Digital Caveman's picks, Runaway, starring Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons of Kiss, of all things.
yes.
Why don't you let us know what you thought of it, Digital?
This is one of those movies that, we had 2 VCRs back in the day, so we rented it once and then I watched it 1,000,000 times. And Tom Selleck, Gene Simmons, and I this was probably not Gene Simmons' first movie, but this is the first movie I can ever remember seeing Gene Simmons in. And just, he was this techno terrorist, and he had these little acid spitting robot spiders. And then Tom Selleck was like this, his job in the police was taking down malfunctioning robots. And so they were natural nemesis. And, it's a great, fun, cheesy 80s flick.
Nice. I kind of like feel like Tom Selleck's like physical acting, like taking unnecessary roles and shit. It's like reminiscent of Tim Allen in freaking Galaxy Quest. But other than that, I mean, it's an entertaining enough movie. I mean, it's definitely B movie sci-fi cheese, but it's tasty sci-fi cheese.
Yes.
Moto, what did you think of this film? Did you see it?
I agreed. Yeah. And I loved this movie as a kid. I must have watched this 100 times. Well, not 100 times, but that weekend we rented it, I watched it a lot. And I thought it was just cool as hell. And that was when the introduction to Christy Alley right there for me, and she was gorgeous.
Never been a Kirstie Alley fan. How about you, Curtis? Do you think Kirstie Alley is sexy?
She was at first. Them eyes she had, and that
Them
hair.
wolf
Was, man,
What
But,
happened to her eyes?
they were just really, really gorgeous looking eyes. Yeah, I saw this movie. It was all right. I didn't really get too much into it, but that's about it for me.
No, Ed, how about you? What did you think of this film?
She's a little runaway. I tell you,
Not in this
very.
movie.
Not in this movie. No Bon Jovi. I was watching Knight Rider and Airwolf at the same time this came out, and this is Thomas Magnum, and that mustache. Nobody could, other than John Oates, nobody could compete with the mustache of Tom Selleck in the '80s. It was that powerful that he would get a movie, and he should have been Indiana Jones. I'm glad he wasn't, but. This is a great movie. It's cheesy. It's like really bad old cheese. Right now, it probably smells really bad, but strangely tastes good, nostalgic kind of way. It's good cheese, and the tech at the time seems so futuristic, so dated now, but it was the '80s, and this is a quintessential '80s film.
Right, like his sleeve, it's blue cheese. M3, any thoughts on this film, and then a little bit of chat catch up?
Sure. I've never even heard of it. T-Fan page showed up. What's up, T-Fan? Delmas Dugan is here, and ex Daredevil is doing good. That's great, and he's dusting Eternia. Good for you, man. That's awesome. That's all I got.
Nice.
Now,
Delmas is very, very happy to see M3.
Yeah.
But anyways,
looks like it.
Digital was the only one who picked this film, and so it gets a rank of D. Next on the list is one of M3's picks, 16 Candles. M3, why don't you tell us about all 16 of those candles?
It was great. It was very funny. The kid right there is hella funny, and he ended up being in some other stuff. I like Molly Ringwald a lot. This is one of the ones that my sisters would watch, and I would not be forced to watch it because it had some eye candy in there. I think I was 9 or 10 years old when I seen it, and it didn't bother me at all. I thought it was pretty cool. Had really good shit going on in there. I haven't seen it forever. I think it's been a very, very long time, like probably 15 years ago. I seen it with my kids, and they didn't have a problem watching it. But yeah, that's all I got to say about it. It's great movie if you guys want to have some 1980s fun. That kid's funny, man. He's great. Good parties.
Nice.
Good parties. Yeah, that's it.
Digital, anything to say about teenagers showing some poor girl's panties to the entire class?
Yeah, I want to say M3, that kid, as you refer to him, grew up to be Anthony Michael Hall, and he was in some great comedies in the '80s like Weird Science.
Hell, The Dark Knight.
And so he was in some great stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a good actor. But this is a great coming of age movie, and you can't beat that guy. His name is Long Duck Dong. So, but it's a great comedy. It's a great coming of age movie, and you get it from, like Anthony Michael Hall's character's point of view. You get it from Molly Ringwald's character's point of view. And, it's just great. If you've never seen it, watch it because, great movie.
It is a really solid film. Curtis, how about you? Anything to add about 16 Candles?
Yeah, it was all right for me as a youngster. It's better as an adult for me. And I wasn't really a Molly Ringwald fan. I didn't understand why everybody thought she was gorgeous, but I never thought she was. But that's about all I got to say about it.
Well, all right. Ed, how about you? Anything to add about 16 Candles?
I always want to think back and say that I was like the jock that was in this film, but I knew I was Anthony Michael Hall at best, the nerdy, geeky, whatever dude. And this was a fun movie. Back then we kind of looked at it as, this is a chick's film, but it was kind of standard issue in the 80s. You had to watch this. It was just kind of accepted that everybody saw this film. My wife said she's never seen it, which shocked me. I was like, but this film was everywhere. It's a John Hughes film. He went on the I think he did Breakfast Club as well. If I'm, a lot of the good kind of teen films of the 80s and like into the 90s of Home Alone and stuff like that. So, a great filmmaker. He was able to capture what teens were going through at that time in their lives. And that's why it seems so relevant to us and back then. But yeah, it's a classic 80s film. It really is.
And I'm sure as we go through the 80s, there'll be more John Hughes on the list. I'm a little disappointed in you, though, Ed. You associated yourself with Anthony Michael Hall and missed your one opportunity in life to call yourself Long Duck Dong.
If only.
Moto, it's your turn. Anything to add about 16 Candles?
No, this is just everybody nailed it. It's a coming of age teenage angst movie that we were all there right at this time, or about to be there. And I'll just end it with automobile.
Nice. M3, anything new in the chat?
No, everybody's still Delmas. Brian King said classic. And
Awesome.
Molly is still looking good, Delmas says.
Sweet. Only M3 picked this, and it gets a rank of D. Next on the list is one of Ed's picks, Splash. Ed, why don't you explain your fetish that you want to have sex with a fish for us?
Oh God, there are so many jokes, so many ways I could go with this. But anyway, about Chicken of the Sea, Daryl Hannah, come on. This is worth watching for Daryl Hannah. And Tom Hanks was hilarious, in the prime of his comedy career. It's such a likable film. And John Candy, we forget the great John Candy. He was so hilarious in the films that he was in the 80s. And it was in a great ensemble cast. And it's just a really sweet, fun film, I love it. It's great.
Nice. Moto, how about you? What do you think of Splash?
I loved it. We actually saw this in class. I remember that's how I got to see this movie. So it was cool. It was the only time I ever seen it. But yeah, like the love story, it was cool. It's a good rom-com of the 80s. And of course, Daryl Hannah with those legs back then. Come on, swing.
Right, even when they were flippers.
Yeah, like right there, even right there. Do it right in the fish butt.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Curtis, how about you? Anything to add about Splash?
Italy. I
Can
guess
you
that's
say that in English?
I guess that's in Dolphin that she talks or something like that.
Well, it's mer people.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it was a good movie. I liked it as a kid. It was pretty, yeah, John Candy and all of them in it, and it was great as a little kid for sure. That's all I gotta say. It's pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie as a kid myself. I do think that Daryl Hannah went a little hard with the crimper.
Hey, that was 80s.
But other than that, she was stunningly beautiful. John Candy was hilarious, even though, like, you know what? I'm not going to say negative things about people. But yeah, great film. There's a lot of like mythology that spawns out of mermaids. And one of them, is that 80s movies were fantastic. So M3, anything Digital, anything to add about Splash?
I remember seeing this movie, and I've seen it a couple of times over the years. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I do remember that I did go to the drive-in theater and see it. It was like the double feature, second double feature. I remember that. But other than that, and Daryl Hannah being hot, even in half fish. But I don't think I'm going to carry it as far as Moto did there.
Nice.
So,
nice.
But that's it.
M3, how about you? Do you want to fuck a fish too?
No, I've never seen the movie, and I never really thought Daryl Hannah was pretty. I'm watching it now, and she's cute, but never really thought she was pretty, but Rob 78 says she was gorgeous. And Merman, his favorite movie would be Splash.
No shit, right?
Right, and if Daryl Hannah, if Madison didn't want him, he would just use that Krav Maga, make it happen anyway. So yeah. Anyways, that's Splash, only pick by Ed, so it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, we've got Starman, picked by M3. M3, why don't you tell us about Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen and Starman?
I thought it was a great movie. Matter of fact, I just watched it about 2 months ago. I watch it probably once every 3 years, maybe randomly. I'm just like, oh, I'll check it out. It brings back good memories. I saw it in the movie theater when I was like, when it came out. I seen it in movie theaters with my friend Kevin, and we thought it was cool. I was just telling my wife my list today, and she's like, I never really liked that movie. I said, why is it? Because of the Jeff Bridges? She said, yeah. She just doesn't. She's not fond of him, but good movie. Everything's in it. I'll let you guys do all the stuff with it because I've watched this movie so many times. It's pretty good, but if anybody else has seen it,
well, I mean, it's your pick, so say your piece.
Yeah. It made my list. It was the bottom of my list, and it overrode The Last Starfighter and Terminator just by a mere inch, only because I don't watch Terminator all the time, and I don't watch The Last Starfighter all the time. I watch this one, so this one brings back.
All right, chat. I just wanted to say that I admit Starman is a good movie, but better than Terminator. Let this man have it.
It just didn't.
Yeah, Starman was pretty fantastic.
That's how when I wrote it.
I still had a huge crush on Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark and Animal House at this point, so that made me happy. I still like Jeff Bridges from Tron at this point, so that made me happy. Overall, pretty damn good story, pretty damn good movie. And it looks like I didn't start the trailer like a dumbass, but anyways, yeah. So yeah, Starman's fantastic. I find it a little bit unfortunate that the one thing in the movie that everybody seems to remember, because as soon as you mention Starman, they're like, red light stop, green light go, yellow light go very fast. I'm like, all right, cool. We understand that joke's in the film. But I don't mind that people talk about it, but I hate that it's the only thing people bring up. Anyways, how do you feel about it, Digital?
It's a great film. And, like you said, when I think of Karen Allen, I immediately think of Raiders of the Lost Ark first. And, then I think of Starman. And that's what I remember her being in, that's what I remember seeing her in. And Jeff Bridges, he's such a great actor, and it's just a great movie. And I kind of wish, we'd gotten a sequel to it, so we find out, was she pregnant? Did she have an alien baby?
Oh,
yes, it was Shia LaBeouf.
Oh shit. Never mind. I don't want to watch that movie now.
No.
I don't want to watch that sequel.
Digital, how about you? How did you feel about Starman?
Oh, that was just me talking about it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. How did you feel about Starman?
I love the film. Yeah, Jeff Bridges, I think he inhabits like the body of her husband. They showed in the trailer there, which I'd forgotten that, because like there's hair sample she has, and it's kind of like an ET story. I guess it is in a way. It's a very good film. It's not better than Terminator. It is not better than God, what was the other film? I erased it from my memory. I'm sure M3 didn't say what I thought he said, but
Last Starfighter was the other one. Yeah,
Last Starfighter. That's damn near perfection as well in my book. But anyway, it is a very good film. I thought about putting it on my list, but there were just better things that I had to have on there, and it could have made my list. It is a really good film. John Carpenter, another great John Carpenter film.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's Carpenter's great. How about you, Moto?
I think Jeff Bridges is an amazing actor, but on this one he overacted. I found it boring. just led. It's so slow. It's just so damn slow, and the guy's a fucking idiot. And it's just, but the story's good. The story's good. Don't get me wrong. You know, we've all heard this story in many different ways, but this is just one of those ones at 11 years old. You know, and it's like, this is gay.
Well, all right. Curtis, how about you?
I agree with it being really slow. I had a hard time keeping track of it. There's, some funny parts in it. It's I guess it was all right movie, but I did have a hard time following it because it was so slow at 11 or 10 years old. And I'm used to stuff like Star Wars, and Terminator, all that.
Gotcha. Yeah, this was more of a drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have to defend Jeff Bridges' performance a little bit though, because he was portraying an alien in a human body, like who had just learned the language. So it's like it is what it is.
Like a retard who became normal overnight.
There you go. But M3 was the only one that picked it, so it got a rank of D. Next
pick,
up on the
M3.
list is one of Ed's picks. It was pretty hard for me to leave this off my list. I actually love this movie. I'm gonna go ahead and let Ed say his piece before I spoil anything.
There you go. I'll try not to spoil it, but I'm sure I will. I'm a Star Trek guy, always been. This is a great film. Anything better than the first one for me? The films got better, and in some ways got better, in some ways they got worse. But I like this film, and it's iconic. It's I don't think you can really have the first generation of Star Trek characters, the ones we all grew up with, without including this film in the lore. And there are great Klingons in here. I'm trying to leave some stuff for profit here, but I'll just say it's a great film, and I loved it, and it's worth watching.
All right, and as the second biggest Trekkie here, Digital, what do you think?
I enjoyed this movie. I just thought there were so many other movies to choose from '84, and they're just better movies, I guess. And it's not that I didn't want to pick this, because for me, this movie has the greatest line out of Star Trek, period. And that's when they go to rescue McCoy from jail. And, they say, "Doctor, you're suffering from a mind meld." And he says, "That green-blooded son of a bitch is his revenge for all those arguments he lost." And to me, that's like the greatest line in all of Star Trek. And, if you're watching the movies, this is the three. If you only watch 3 Star Trek movies, you have to watch 2, 3, and 4, because they go together. And again, it's not that I don't like this movie. It gives us the real, even though they showed the new Klingons in the motion picture, this one really gives us our first view of how the Klingons behave. And this carries on, throughout the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's still
I
a good
love the
movie. Even though I
episode,
didn't pick it, it's still a great Star Trek movie.
I love the episode of Deep Space Nine where they go back to the Trouble with Tribbles episode, and Worf refuses to explain why Klingons look different. But this movie's fantastic to me. The reason I had such a hard time leaving it off my list is it goes right down to Christopher Lloyd. He is the quintessential Klingon. There will never be anyone to portray one better than he did in this film. Kirk gets one of the most iconic, most memorable lines he's ever spoken in the franchise in this, with "You Klingon bastard, you killed my son." This movie pulls on the heartstrings pretty well. Like, I mean, if you don't feel something when David dies, I don't know about you. You're not a Star Trek fan.
True.
But yeah, I fucking think this film is fantastic, and you're 100% right, Digital. It is a piece of a trilogy. This is the centerpiece of a trilogy because 2, 3, and 4 they're one long story.
Yes.
And they're an amazing story. And then Shatner fucked it up with 5, and we don't want to talk about that. But anyways, let's move on to someone that absolutely
He shat on
despises
it.
Star Trek. Curtis, how about you?
Oh, I don't actually despise it. I'm just not a big
Right.
fan.
And you're not trying to kill me either, right?
Nope.
If you were any other men, I'd kill you where you stand.
Yeah, like I like the original series. Hated the first movie. Hated the third movie. Which is this one, and it just to me it just was not entertaining. It wasn't good. I even stopped watching it and turned around because I went to the drive-in with my parents to see this. I turned around and watched the screen behind us, which was Vamp, which was more exciting. And I didn't even have no sound. If that
Wow,
tells
well-
you anything, that's how I think of it. It's like a bad movie to me.
All right. So, since Curtis's mother
That's just
isn't
my
here-
opinion.
Since Curtis's mother isn't here to stop him, and tell him that if you don't have anything nice to say, I'll do it for her and pass it on to Moto. Moto, what did you think of this film?
Not much of a Star Trek fan, but my grandfather was. So that was always on TV in the background, the old episodes,
Yeah.
When number 1 came out, I never saw it. But when number 2 came out, my grandfather and I went to the movie theaters and saw it. And I thought that 2 was so good. And then when 3 and then find out that they can get Spock back through the Genesis program, and they find him as a child and all that stuff. I found it very intriguing. So I agree with everybody. 2, 3, 4 is a great trilogy. Am I a Trekkie? Absolutely not. But there's been a couple good ones from New Generation or Next Generation to from Beyond, that new one, or not the newer one, I should say, but from the newer series. They've got a few movies that are pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? If you just take them for what they are, a popcorn movie, they're great.
Nice. M3, what about you? You should love Star Trek because you could fuck a silicone sex doll on a holodeck in this. What did you think, M3? Have you seen it?
I have not seen this movie, but 7 of 9 is one of the finest women that walks the planet. That's all I got.
All right. So M3 loves Jerry Ryan. Anything new in the chat?
Oh, no.
No, it looks like the chat's being dominated by the guys on the panel at the moment.
Yeah.
Nice. Hilarious.
Speak up, chat. Speak up.
But anyways, Ed was the only one to pick this, so it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, this was one picked by Curtis and only Curtis. Tank. Starring James Garner.
Yeah.
So, Curtis, why don't you let us know about Tank and how much you would love to roll through the city and just destroy shit?
It was a great fight the power movie. Of course, I like the military. I grew up, in a biker family. So like towards the end when they're pulling the tank, the bikers all go out there and they pull the tank out. It was great. But yeah, it's a all right movie. Not the greatest, but it's all right. It's a good one-time watch at least. But I tend to watch it more than that. So it's because I like James Gardner. I grew up watching James Gardner and C. Thomas Howell's in it, and that sheriff there is a prick.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see Zephram Cochrane as a villain.
Yeah.
And as I was in the military, I related to stuff like this outside of our bases. It was crazy. It was just like the movie. I'm like, man, this is just like that movie. But yeah. So what it is this old master sergeant or sergeant major, I can't remember. I think he's a master or a first sergeant. He's getting ready to retire, and he buys himself a Sherman tank. And his son's like, or he goes out and he defends somebody from the cop, and the cop doesn't like it, so they go to his son's school and plants, drugs in his locker, basically arrests him, and then his dad gets like, all right, he grabs the tank and he goes and pulls his son out of jail with the tank, and they head for the county line so they can get a fair trial, and they go through a whole bunch of stuff. It's a great little movie, I think, in my opinion.
Nice. Yeah, it's a corrupt legal system versus guy with a tank.
Yeah,
It's like half the taxpayers in the country's revenge fantasy on the government.
right.
Interestingly, the Sherman tank he has in this movie, I have a 1/18 scale Sherman tank that's exactly this tank for my Modern Joes.
Sweet.
And I thought about, before I got into the larger scale figures, I thought about making a figure of this guy because I have that exact tank.
Yeah.
And yeah, James Cromwell, he's great when he's a villain. He's great no matter what he's in. He's great.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
James Cromwell. What else can you say about him? I guess one thing you could say is that'll do, pig. And then I'll pass it on to Curtis. Why don't you? Oh wait, Curtis, it was your pick. Jesus, where am I today? Moto, why don't you go next?
Oh, no worries, no worries. I remember this movie. Now, forgive me. I remember this movie being going to pick up pizza and movies for the weekend at the local video store out in Buck, Egypt, because we lived on a ranch. And this was one of the movies that was picked up. And when it came on, I decided to go outside and do some motoing. And I never got a chance to see this movie. Then my stepdad said that it was all right, but I watched the other movies that we had rented that weekend, plus playing and all that other good stuff, and so I never got a chance to see this movie. But the one funny thing is that life imitates art, and the fact that up here in Colorado, no more than a stone's throw away from me in a town, that very same fucking thing happened.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah. So, I enjoy the film. Digital. What about you?
I enjoyed this film. It's not one that I've seen a lot, and this is one of the first things I can remember seeing James Garner and recognizing that it was James Garner in it. And tanks are cool when you're a kid, so and Sherman tank, it was a versatile tank. It wasn't a very well armored tank, but they made them, they were mass produced and could pretty much swarm anything else during World War II, but not the greatest.
Yeah, you say they were mass produced, and I have one, so they must have been.
Yeah.
Right, but
So,
James Garner, when I was a kid, we used to watch Maverick reruns, so that was where I first saw him.
Mass produced like his tank, right?
You hold your tongue,
Ooh.
bastard.
Ooh, he just took a shot at your armor, man.
Ed, what about you? Have you seen Tank?
I vaguely remember it, but man, James Garner, he was awesome. I mean, C. Thomas Howell, this was probably one of his first big movies, and he was in the Brat Pack, I think, later on in the 80s, all those films, and that group of young talent that was coming up during the 80s. And this is a fun movie. Of course, the Rockford Files is one of the greatest theme songs in television history. I love that show back in the day. It's
In the
still
Gold
so fun.
Trans Am.
Oh yeah, heck yeah! And James Garner was just so cool, and like, hey man, this is the first time I ever remember him ever doing a film. Maybe his only one, I don't know. Other than, of course, Maverick, which he did with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster, which is a comedic masterpiece. It was late, I think, in the 90s when they did that, if I'm correct. But that was really good to revive that character and do that film. But for this film, it was fun, and like Caveman said, it's a tank. So yeah. 14-year-old me loves a tank.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
tearing up shit.
Yeah, like I said, James Gardner was the original Maverick. That's why they got him to be in the Mel Gibson movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. then what you were saying about C. Thomas Howell, he was in a lot of films back then. A lot of those, he was in Red Dawn. He was in The Outsiders. And then he did Soul Man. And we'll leave it at that. M3, what did you think of Tank?
I've never seen it at all, but OG Skywatcher's here. He said, "Kill Dozer, live forever." Ryan King said, "Great movie for the military brats," and Sam said it twice. Hey.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hi, OG. What up, Pops?
Nice. All right. Well, and that's it for that. And only one person picked it, so it gets a rank of D. Moving on, the next thing on the list, this is one of my picks, The Natural. In my opinion, I think this is the single greatest baseball film ever made. The cinematography is perfect. The way they create an entirely fictional person and yet still manage to convince you that he was the greatest of all time among real ball players. It's crazy. Like, this guy's made some really bad decisions with women, but from the opening where his father dies of a heart attack under the tree, and that night the tree gets struck by lightning, and he makes his bat from that tree, has it his whole life, and on the day it cracks, the kid gives him the bat that he made, and with the very first swing, he cracks a homer into the lights. Amazing. This is a movie about bad decisions and overcoming, well, basically horrible women. But it's a masterpiece, and I can't really say much else about it. I'm hoping that other people liked it as well, and if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, because it's amazing. Like, Wilford Brimley as the coach is like amazing. Curtis, have you seen this film?
Yes, I have. I watched it with my grandparents several times. I agree 100% with you, Prophet, on this film. You need to see it. If you like baseball, you need to see it. But that's about all I'm going to say, because you covered pretty much all of it.
All right, Moto, anything to add about The Natural?
Not a whole lot to add. You did cover it, but it is a great movie. And for those who haven't seen it, it's a sit back and must watch, man. I'm telling you.
Nice. Digital, how about you?
I've seen this movie probably a whole twice. I remember the first time I saw it was at the drive-in theater, and then I may have seen it once more when it came out on VHS. But I'll have to say, Wilford Brimley in this movie looks like he's only 50 instead of like 80, like he looks in everything else that he's in. So kudos to the makeup team.
They got him up and about. He was moving around in this film. Right? All right, Ed, let's see if you talk about the one thing I left out.
Hi, this is Wilford Brimley's mustache, and if you don't keep your blood sugar under control and subscribe to Liberty Medical for your diabetic supplies, the diabetes will kill you. And I bet you don't believe I was a coach one day. But this was before the diabetes took me. Before I rode in off to the sunset on that poor horse with my diabetes, that fake horse, and this was a great film. And I'm sorry to laugh earlier, but when they said Wilford Brimley was the coach, I'm like, of what, a sport or eating? Sorry,
diabetes.
Diabetes.
Should I assume that you haven't seen this film then?
I have seen it, and I agree with you. It's a masterpiece, and I'm surprised you didn't kick us all off of here for not putting it as one of our top films. It is a very good thing. Robert Redford, this is one of his best movies, if not best. It is a very good film. I'm not a big sports fan, not a big baseball fan, but I realize that this is an important film to a lot of people that love baseball. And you're not the only one to say it's pretty much a masterpiece. And it really is. It's a great film. It's worth more than one watch. And you can also laugh at Wilford Brimley and his diabetes. That's all I got to say.
You absolutely can. However, he didn't mention the one thing that I left out specifically for him. The score of this film is freaking magical. all the ba 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 ba
Yes.
ba. Oh, it's fantastic, and I'm assuming M3 probably hasn't seen this film. That's why I wanted to talk about it. But M3, have you seen it?
No, you are correct. I have not seen it. It's I don't even remember hearing about it. But Brian King says his number 1 is The Natural, number 2 is Field of Dreams, and number 3 is Sandlot. And OG Skywatch says if you're not making bad decisions with women, you're not getting with very many women.
Nice,
True enough.
nice.
True enough.
Yeah. OG also mentioned the Sundance Kid because Robert Redford's in there. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Yeah. This if you like baseball even a little,
Rhinestone.
do yourself a favor and watch this masterpiece. But as it stands, I'm the only one that picked this masterpiece, and therefore it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, we've got The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. This is one of Ed's picks. Ed, why don't you tell us about this crazy ass movie?
Well, damn, this is starting to look like a math test that I'm taking in college now because I got nothing but D's so far on my list. There was probably better films than this, but this was so iconic 80s. And when I was 14 when I saw this, it was just very adventurous. Doesn't he look like the Doctor with the bow tie there? Walking to the 80s tie, looking at the trailer there. But yeah, Buckaroo Banzai, it was just a zany 80s fun sci-fi. Yeah, and Jeff Goldblum. Well, there you go. He's, if you can't see it on the trailer, he's walking through. He's got the, what do you call those things you wear on your legs that look like
Chaps.
chaps? Thank you. And he's got
But
the
they're
big
not
cowboy
leather;
hat.
they're like carpet.
Yeah, no, it's just so
They're sheep.
over the
Sheepskin.
top. It's just so over the top. It's so crazy fun 80s. It's just a fun movie and all that. So I had to include it.
Nice. M3, have you seen this film?
I have never even heard of it, but I like RoboCop like a motherfucker. I had no idea that he was in any other film.
Well, I mean, and it's got Jeff Goldblum dressed like Lawrence Fishburne from Pee-wee's Playhouse, so that's something going for it. Digital, how about you? What did you do?
I've seen this movie a couple of times over the years, and it's like this is the first thing I can ever remember Peter Weller being in. And he's gone on and he played RoboCop. He got to voice Batman in the animated adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. So, Peter Weller, even though he's not in a lot of stuff, he's a very iconic actor, and pretty much everybody knows who Peter Weller is. And I'm sure they instantly think of RoboCop, but he's been in some other stuff over the years too. Star Trek Enterprise being one of them. And then again, Jeff Goldblum in the Chaps, like you are talking about. So it's a crazy zany 80s cheese sci-fi movie.
I mean, let's not forget Ellen Barkin, Christopher Lloyd, and John Lithgow.
Stellar cast.
Right? Huge cast in this film.
So many people who went on to make a big careers for themselves. Hopefully
Right.
without going to Diddy parties.
Moto Viper, have you seen this film? Moto, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I have. I've seen this movie multiple times. I have it on VHS and DVD, and I think it's a great cult classic.
Nice. Curtis, how about you?
No, I have never seen this movie. I want to see it though. It looks really good. It sounds good from what you guys are saying, so I definitely want to see it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and the effects are solid for the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But as Ed was the only one to pick it, it gets a rank of D. And we move on to the first thing picked by two people.
Oh wow!
Actually, I think this might be out of sequence here. Yes, because it is time. We're done with the D's, so it's time for intermission.
Thank you. I got to piss like a racehorse.
Anybody who has to piss or fill a drink, like empty the bladders and fill the drinks, people. Now is
Sounds
the time.
good, gentlemen.
And
Thank you.
And watch your diabetes.
Today's-
Check your blood
today's-
sugar to
today's
Liberty
episode is
Medical.
Brought to you by Cornflakes. Kellogg's.
Okay, yes, rental
With
period is
32 different
over.
vitamins in it. Make sure for a healthy breakfast you eat cornflakes.
Was that Conan the Destroyer or Conan the Barbarian?
Destroyer. Barbarian was a couple years prior.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Yeah,
OG
this is
Skywalker.
the one with Grace Jones. You know, Grace Jones.
Nobody turns
He
down.
had the best line in the movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
You must be gay. Nobody turned down this pussy.
All right, let's go get something to drink.
Hey, the end joke for Motos, I got pissed like a racehorse, is on all fours. Oh, that's great. And OG Skywatch says, "What is best in life is to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women." That's my best.
Hey, M3. So a little while ago, I was going through my totes and I hit a Transformer, one with nothing but Transformers in it, except for, guess what I found?
Mota.
That stuff you're smoking.
That's great. Hey, thanks, OG.
Well, you know what that stuff is for? To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and the air lamentation of the women.
Yes.
That's great. Dude, he's so iconic, dude. That's so good. But it sucks when you see him in other movies because he always has the accent. And it's grown on me. The only reason I started talking shit on Arnold is because of his things he says. But I'm like, all right, just forget about that. He's still a fucking awesome fucking actor.
Pizza shit.
He's a great actor and did really well for all the movies that I enjoy. So I choose to just kind of remember that side, not his new side.
Yeah, I love when Bill Burr talks about him. Like the whole like sleeping with the maid thing.
Oh yeah. Get to the chopper, Rob says. Yes. I can hear you saying it, Rob.
No,
Harry Nipples.
nipples are hairy.
Yeah, I've got a slide that isn't working for some reason because I had a little intermission video, but it didn't work. It's in the folder, but it's not popping up. So
No way. That was going to be great. Profit.
Hell yeah.
Yes, the infinite sadness reigns supreme.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, man, 80% of these movies I haven't seen, man. The only ones I've seen are the ones that I mentioned.
Well, it's about to get a lot easier to recognize things. Like D is full of all the obscurities. Pretty much everything going forward should be fairly recognizable.
I don't think this Conan made it on my list because it's not the first one. I like the first one, but
yeah, this Conan didn't make it on my list.
Yeah. 1984 is a movie. Ironically. Oh no, OG. I looked up. When I was doing whatever I was doing, I got some by myself, and I was like, I'm gonna watch a movie from 1984, and I looked on Amazon Prime videos, and I looked up 1984 movies, and that was the first one that came up. I was like, no shit, they made a movie about 1984. Yeah.
Well, it was a book by George Orwell. Kind of it's where the whole concept of Big Brother is watching comes from.
Oh, okay. What is it? Eye in the Sky with Shia LaBeouf and
Right. Same concept, better technology.
Okay. Yeah. That was a really good movie, by the way. I like that a lot.
I think Shia takes a bad rap, man. I love Shia LaBeouf.
Me too. I've got no problem.
There's this video on YouTube. It's like the people doing a song called Shia LaBeouf. Like where they have to face off against him in the woods and shit. It's fucking hilarious.
It's
If you
hilarious.
haven't
What's
seen
hilarious?
it, I highly recommend watching it. Just type in Shia LaBeouf song. But not right now. Right now, you're here watching us talk about the 80s.
That's right. Look at that later when we're not talking about the 80s.
Like, share, and subscribe while you're here.
Also, yes, check out all our other channels. Because we're not just this channel. We're lots of channels.
Yes, we are Borg. Resistance is futile.
To honor Wilford Brimley, I went and had a piece of cheesecake. So my diabetes would be okay.
Diabetes. You can be on that damn cheap ass
No,
Walmart.
man, you
insulin
should have
me.
had a bowl of Quaker Oats.
There you
Another
go. I
missed
forgot that.
opportunity. What's wrong with you?
I like me some Quaker Oats now.
Oh man.
Oh gosh, me and Caveman, we go on for hours just making diabetes jokes.
Diabetes jokes, yeah. Like in Ewoks, the Battle of Endor. That's why his little buddy was so fast, because Wilford Brimley used to give him all the sugar so he wouldn't have to eat it.
He got that deadly
Whenever
sugar
crash
stash.
landed on the moon of Endor.
Yeah, that's how Caveman got diabetes. He got too close to the
No,
sugar
I got-
stash.
I got diabetes because I live too close to Carrie Hilliard's and drink all that sweet tea.
You and me both.
Mm.
Well, at the end of the day, dying beats all of us.
Yes, sir.
Shia LaBeouf. That's how you pronounce it, Rob. Judas Priest, Electric Eye, 1982.
No, they were breaking the law.
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
Yeah, and if you think otherwise, you've got another thing coming.
Oh man. Remember when he came out of the closet and everybody was so shocked?
Who?
Well, I always thought
The
that was
singer for
hilarious,
Judas
right?
Priest.
Because you know, a lot of other bands modeled their look after them. And
Yeah.
their look was modeled on like going to like the Blue Oyster and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like, how did you guys not see it? He said, I was dressed in tight leather all the time. Like, oh yeah.
Well, not
Right?
just
That was
that,
metal.
like all their
literally,
songs.
literally wearing the uniform, and all these ignorant
Uniform.
jackasses copy him, having no idea what it means.
Look at me wearing my assless leather chaps.
Only Prince could pull that off.
Well, stand up, digital. Let's see.
No, it's just pajama pants tonight, my friend. Actually, pajama shorts.
That
Ed,
was you
tease
and
him,
three.
man.
You missed
Ed,
that.
you tease him. You'll tease you.
I'm trying to get those like, share, and subscribes to my channel.
I don't think that's the kind of like, share, and subscribe you want.
I don't know. As long as they keep subscribing, that's what I care about.
Yeah,
Bring
we'll
you
be back
quality
on it as
entertainment.
soon as Curtis gets back, folks.
And all the gay long.
And
All are welcome.
For anyone out there that doesn't know yet, Raucous is Figure of the Year.
Who?
Raucous.
Is somebody drinking or peeing? I can't tell. What is that noise?
You know, the
Could
dog
be
that came
either.
with Road Pig.
All go to the lobby.
Oh, okay, okay.
Let's all go to the lobby.
I passed on
Let's all
Road
go
Pig.
to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
To
love
get
that
copyright struck. Anyways, he's back so we can move on. The next
You're
movie on
back.
the list, the first thing picked by two people, was picked by Digital Caveman and Moto Viper. Conan the Destroyer.
Moto, I knew you were going to pick this one.
Digital, Moto, and Digital. This
Didn't
is
I
a
pick it?
Conan movie, so I want you to fight to the death to see who gets to go first.
I picked it too.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, Moto. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, this is a badass next story level to The Barbarian. This is totally an 80s cocaine movie. It's fucking amazing. You could tell they had a few extra shekels they could put into it. The that girl right there is hot
Olivia
as fuck.
DeVoe.
Inspired that video game.
She's still hot.
Dragonlance, inspired by her, believe it or not. True story. This movie is great. Conan. It's medieval. It's Dungeons and Dragons. It's fucking Oh, and Will Chamberlain. Oh, who ends up being an asshole at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And Grace Jones, who says she'll die for Conan. She says to this day she'll die for Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, it's just a great. What can you say? It's Conan, you know. And if you're into heavy metal, long hair, Dungeons and Dragons, hanging out with buddies, smoking a pack of Reds behind a building somewhere, and this kind of movie was your jam. You feel me?
Yeah.
Well, Digital feels you, so I guess Digital was out behind the store smoking cigarettes. Digital, why don't you tell us your take on Conan?
Olivia DeBow is still hot to this day. And Will Chamberlain, he's like, I'm your friend, now I'm your asshole. And the tone of this movie is a lot different than the tone of Conan the Barbarian. And I think a lot of that has to do is The Destroyer was written by two comic book writers who were at the time writing the Marvel comic book. It was Howard Chaykin, and I cannot remember the name of the other guy. But I mean, just the cast in this one, we get to see more of Mako being the crazy little wizard guy, and then they replace his buddy from the first movie with the little scaredy cat thief guy in this one. And he's in the little temple using his dagger to pry the gems off the wall and swallowing them.
It's Mako.
Mako, yes, the
wizard. No, Mako.
Mako.
No, Mako.
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 No, Mako.
Okay, what Moto said.
All right,
But,
all right.
like,
So you better get Mako.
The scene where he's fighting the other wizard, and they're like, trying to the evil wizard's trying to open the tunnel up, and Conan's wizard. I'm not going to try and say his name again because Moto's going to get after me. He's trying to close it down. They're going, ee! I mean, it's just a great movie, and like the scene where he goes and fights the wizard in the crystal castle or whatever it is, and the room with all the mirrors, and it's a great movie, and I think it's a great successor to Conan the Barbarian. And they should have gone on to make this one a trilogy, and then Conan the King to just kind of cap it off. That's my opinion. I like this movie. I watched this one more as a kid than I did The Barbarian.
Right, you have something to add?
There's rumors around Hollywood of Arnold doing King Conan as we speak.
Oh, that's been for the last 10 years, man.
Oh yeah, that's a long-standing.
But
rumor.
I hope it's true. I
believe it
want
when I
to see
see it.
him to cap this off, and then like Moto said, Grace Jones in there, and then like the scene when they're all resting up at the end of the night, and she's asking, Olivia DeBow's asking Grace Jones for, how do you get a man? She was like, I reach out and I take him. That's just
that's some good
it's
shit.
Great, cheesy, but it's a great film.
Right. Well, and that's kind of where I'm at with this Conan movie. Right. You said there was a distinct, different feel between this and the first one.
Yes.
The first one was more like a dramatic storytelling that took itself mostly seriously. This one, like, knew it was campy from the start and leaned into it. It's not a bad thing. It's a decent enough Conan movie, but in my opinion, nowhere near as good as the first. What did you think, Ed?
I was not really a Schwarzenegger fan until The Terminator, and then I haven't stopped being a Arnold fan. I understand, so I don't know too much about Conan. I did probably watch both of these. I feel like maybe, and y'all can answer this, I think the fandom probably says Barbarian was the best one, and this was the sillier sequel. I don't know. That's what I'm getting from y'all, but I could be wrong. I'm sure it's fun. you know, and I probably need to go back and watch both of them again. I'll probably get a greater appreciation for them, but I know it's an iconic film, so I'll say that.
I mean, the one horn demon at the end is enough for me to call it like cheesy B movie. You know. M3, have you seen this?
Yeah, I definitely seen it. I seen it a while ago. It's not one that I always gravitate to, but you know, who doesn't like beautiful men with muscles, huge muscles? Really good.
Well, we know you do.
Yeah.
Puny man.
Shout out to Doe Studios. Doe Studios said they really need to get on that Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Conan movie, The King.
Hell yeah.
And Rob 78. Brian King says Sarah Douglas Uma from Superman 2. I'm not exactly sure what that is. And
Ursa, Ursa.
Sorry. And then
Yeah, she
Legend
was
of
the queen.
The Legend of Conan is in development, as well as the twin sequel titled Triplets with OG Skywatch. He said that. Okay, interesting. That's all I got.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sarah Douglas is to me, she's the hotter one in the film, not the blonde chick. Curtis, anything to add on Conan the Destroyer?
Yes, I agree with you. You know, the one that called Earth Planet Houston.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's freaking hot. But yeah, I like this movie a lot. Of course, I agree the first one's way better, but there's like a lot of good stuff in this, you know. So I liked it a lot. I'm just gonna leave it at that. You guys pretty much covered everything.
Yeah. Prophet Big M is here too. Sorry.
Nice. Hello, Big M.
Big M.
Hey, McDJ.
For shizzle.
All right,
What
so
up?
as good as you know, as campy and fun as this is, only 2 people picked it, so it's a C. Next on the list, we've got Revenge of the Nerds, picked by M3 and Curtis. Curtis, why don't you lead us off on this one?
They call us names, they call us nerds.
Hair pie? More hair pie?
It's a great movie. That's all I'm gonna say. If you haven't seen it by now, you gotta see it. And that's all I'm gonna say about it, because you should know that pretty much what, you know, it's got boobs, it's got all that comedy you like as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, you know. So that's all I'm gonna say about it. You go, M3.
It's really the fact of 2 guys coming from they're best friends. They're going to a dormitory together. They start out, and one of them knows his place, and one of them is like, "Fuck that! I'm this guy. I don't care what you think of me. This is how I think of me." He's got really big confidence level, so he's super cool. Ends up getting with the main cheerleader girl, which give me cheerleaders any day, and I'm fucking all over it. Dude, this movie is great. Booger was awesome. Ogre
Especially
was
the
awesome.
Will Ferrell con.
Lavar, the dude that throws the javelin. He just, on point, dude. This movie is great, and I actually was looking to try and find it the other day, but it's nowhere. No, it's not on Tubi. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Amazon Prime. It's nowhere to be found. So I'm trying to look for it.
It should be on your DVD collection.
Right, exactly, right. I don't even have a DVD. I do. Yeah, but that's all I gotta say. Great. Oh, Big M, yeah, love Revenge of the Nerds. Rob 78 said beyond funny. Hell yeah, man. The Burt Booger did put Ogre to shame. Yeah, but and then Ogre, when he's taking a piss, he's just fucking pissing and pissing and pissing. It's great.
Nice.
I love
That
it.
belch was awesome.
Yeah, all I have to say about this film is I've always thought it would be hilarious because I'm kind of a big guy and I have frizzy hair like Ogre. I always wanted to just put on a sleeveless Letterman jacket and walk into the center of Comic-Con and yell at the top of my lungs, "Nerds!"
You should do that, dude.
Yes.
But Ed, what did you think of Revenge of the Nerds?
Well, being a nerd and not proud of being a nerd back in the day, I hated these films. I was like, let's not draw more attention to myself, okay? They're funny. They're crazy. They're kind of like the slapstick 80s Police Academy type movies, you know, to me. And they probably didn't need sequels to this. This didn't need to be 2 or 3 films or however many they did. But I know people enjoy the film. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But I realize it is pretty funny.
All right, Moto Viper, how about you?
Absolutely love this movie. Never was a nerd until I got older. Yeah, this movie is great. Total, lots of one-liners. It tells you where arrogance will lead you to, and being confident and strong in who you are, what you shall overcome. So that's a great story in that aspect. The love on the moon scene was perfect.
Yes.
Though we got Bush with the Mission Impossible theme. It's great. I even like it when old dude fucking gets on the tricycle and drinks all those beers and fucking does all those laps and shit. And he plays his little Japanese song and shit. It's cool, man. It's a good movie, It was all right.
And to answer the question that was asked in the movie, are all nerds as good as you? The answer is no. That's a fantasy. Curtis, you have something to add?
Yeah, they took the Japanese guy and they dressed him up as an Indian. That was crazy. I don't think.
Oh, in the concert, yeah, that shit jammed.
Digital, why don't you wrap us up on Revenge of the Nerds?
First of all, I want to say special welcome in the chat to my one and only channel member, MCDJ ACDC. So welcome, my friend. But Revenge of the Nerds, what a funny ass friggin' movie. And I've seen all 4 of these. The last of which was a made-for-TV movie where all the original folks were grown up and like the nerds' arch enemy, he was the dean of the college, and so anyway. And this is the first thing I can ever remember Anthony Edwards appearing in. Now, I'm sure he was probably in some stuff before this, but this is the only thing the first time I remember seeing him. But funny as fuck. And Booger ends up becoming an ambulance chasing lawyer. And that happened in the fourth.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with Ed on this one. That I think this would hold a fonder place in my heart had there not been like umpteen freaking sequels that sucked. Same thing with Police Academy. Yeah. If it was one film, for each franchise, I would be, I would hold them a little closer. You know what I mean? But as it stands, only 2 people picked this, and I was not one of them. So we're moving on, and this is a rank of. We're skipping something here. Oh, I guess we are. Oh no, I just didn't run the trailer. Oh well, too late now.
Damn.
Get the ranking sheet.
Canceled.
Oh, the production values are ruined.
It's so downhill.
But the next film on the list is The Never-Ending Story. This was picked by Digital Caveman and M3. So this time we're going to let Digital Caveman go first. Why don't you talk about Never-Ending Story?
I mean, what? Just the premise of this movie, the little kid trapped in the library or trapped in the attic during the storm and no power, and he's reading this book by candlelight that he happens to find in the attic, and he's just becoming so involved in the story. Like that part right there, he's yelling, "No, Trey, don't do it!" But just a fantastic fantasy movie that's aimed more at kids, I guess. And I watched the shit out of this as a kid, by the way. And just all the different areas he bought in the rock biter there, biting rocks, of course. Then the Sphinx there asking the riddles, and the kid always getting upset. And finally, by the end, they, save everything, even though people aren't believing in this fantasy stuff anymore. The little kid saves the Empress and the universe of the never-ending story. So I love this movie. It's great movie. Even though it's more kind of a kids movie, it's still great movie.
I don't disagree with you at all. M3.
Oh yeah, I picked this movie. It's great. I watch it probably maybe once every 4 years. It's not something I watch all the time, but the Tammy Stronach is she's on Instagram. She's all like an adult now and shit. She does a bunch of like stuff.
I should hope so.
Yeah, promoting all her like stuff from her past and all this stuff. She's great. But the whole movie is just fantasy and not the graphics, but the way that it's almost like a Muppet, like the Muppet movies, the Jim Henson stuff, but it wasn't. There was nobody famous in this to promote it. There's no big names in it or anything like that. It was all the characters and their involvement and the kid. Terrific. And I always wanted to be that kid that got to get out of class, just exactly what he did, kind of hide out and read a book and shit that really emulsified yourself into like everything in it. And it grabbed him and he grabbed it. It was great. Good flick. That's all I got to say. Doe Studios is still here. Brian King is still here. And Rob78, OG Skywatch. What's up, guys? The luck.
Digital, what did you think?
Well, I went first, so
would
you
I'm
like
sorry,
me to
I'm
recap
sorry.
that?
Curtis, what did you think?
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I watched it as a kid and liked it. It's a good fantasy movie. It's one of those ones you're like, do I pick it for a top 10 or do I not pick it for a top 10? So, it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch it or watch it if you got kids or something. For
Definitely
sure.
watch it with your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. If you have children, make sure you watch. It's something. It's a good thing to pass down.
And then send them to the mines.
Send them to the mines.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, if they, you send them to the mines if they need behavioral correction.
Or we need more cell phones.
Well, there's always more
Cybertruck.
workers.
Cybertruck batteries.
Anyways, Ed, what did you think of Never Ending Story?
Let's see who gets this quote. The part with the Sphinx there and they get the little laser eyes where they're asking questions. I have a question. What does God need with a starship? James T. Kirk from Star Trek 5.
I
know
could
why that
reach
scene
through
reminds
the
me of that.
internet.
I know. Smack me. Hit me good.
Worst Star Trek movie, man. We're talking
It
about
was.
a good movie.
I know. Yeah, this is a great movie. It unfortunately didn't make my list, but I do remember it. For any 80s music freaks, there was a group called Kaja Gugu that had that song Too Shy Shy Hush Hush. The lead singer Lamal did the theme song to this, The Never Ending Story, and made that song a hit. And that's how I knew about the film, honestly. And I've watched this film. It's probably like a lot of the Jim Henson type films. Y'all can fill in the blanks, the ones we talked about in previous ones.
That's incidentally, that's why I said Digital's name again, because I was distracted reading the bottom. Because I was looking for Henson's name down there, because I thought this was a Henson film.
I thought it was it's not? Oh, gosh.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
No,
So I want to
should have
dedicate, and Doe Studios, I want to dedicate this to Spock's brother, Cybok.
Fuck Sabak.
Bye.
All right, mute him, Curtis. Moto,
Kick him.
what did you think of this
absolutely.
movie?
Absolutely loved this movie as a kid. Watched it over and over many times. It's one hell of an adventure. It does suck you in. It's a tearjerker. It's crazy. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It's one of those. It was just one of those at the time, and it was great as a kid. And I definitely agree passing it along to the grandchildren. If I pass it on to my kids now, I'm passing it on to a 30-year-old. I mean, come on.
For me, the one thing I would have done different than Bastion, I would have named her Late for Dinner, so that there'd be somebody I could call late for dinner. Anyway, that's an old man joke there. But two people picked it, so it gets a reg of C. Next on the list, The Karate Kid, Also,
No
only picked by
fucking
2
way.
people. This was hard to leave off my list, man. Moto, why don't you lead us off on the Karate Kid?
Okay, so another movie where, single mom raising her son. They pick up and leave in New Jersey, and they decide to go move out to California, start a new life. As you can see, this is the shithole they move into. But it's just a kid trying to fit in, and finds a girl out on the beach. They're all playing, having fun, and they start liking each other. Kind of find out she's with the classic, all 1980s dickhead. Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. There he is right there in action. Look at that.
Johnny!
Yeah. But I mean, we all know this story. And so he has to fight to prove that, I ain't no bitch. And so he says, okay, I'll tell you what, give me time to practice. And so he does all this crazy practicing shit, like fucking labor work and shit. He's like, dude, this is some bullshit. But then he starts to realize what he's been learning this whole time is just memory movement, finding inner peace within himself, And then as it comes down to a dramatic end, dude, there's this move right here that he's learning right here in this clip. It's called the crane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and so, dude, Johnny's fucked up. Johnny fucked him up. And Daniel only has one desperation move. And he's got to focus, and he's got to have lightning focus. As soon as he fucking does that fucking crane kick, takes the point from Johnny, fucking wins a trophy, and he's doing this, he's crying, he's being lifted up, and I'm fucking crying, and the audience in the theater was fucking clapping their hands and cheering, dog. And that's my take on this movie.
Awesome. M3, there's not much left, but what have you got to say about the Karate Kid?
It was great. Really good memories. My mom and I watched it together, and it was cool. She was one of those ones that she and I liked together. The girl in Adventures of Babysitting, super cute, very, very cool. The whole storyline that Moto described was it's an iconic movie. There's probably not too many of it like that back in that era. Bloodsport was there and that kind of stuff, but this was a teenage kid going through fucking high school and fucking having to deal with all these assholes because he's new, and then ends up getting the best of them. So that was really good. And the scenes that Mr. Miyagi had in his home backyard, where he once Daniel-san was done doing all his tasks, it was a beautiful backyard. He like transformed it into everything was nicely stained, and he can kind of like pull back and be like, damn. But all those wax on, wax off. Everything with everything was for him to learn the arts, and Mr. Miyagi did really good. I like it. That's all I can say.
Great. He learned the art of landscaping.
Yeah.
Which could be a good fallback career.
Curtis, what did you think of Karate Kid?
Oh, it was a great movie for me, especially as a kid. It was a great movie. Let me try to think of what wasn't mentioned. The crane kick. He had a broken leg or an injured leg when he did that too.
Ribs.
Was it the ribs?
It was it was the ribs because he did like the
Well, no, it was the leg
Swept
because
the leg.
before that he was told to sweep the leg.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You're right. You're right.
That told him the ribs because I remember the. And then he was like, "Oh shit, it's about to get real."
Oh, I think he got injured that way too. Part of the movie, but anyways, it was just great. Like you're cheering him on and stuff, and when you first see it and stuff. It's he was Ralph Macchio. Macchio. Yeah, he was in The Outsiders as well, and that's the first time I saw him. But yeah, it was a great movie. That's all I gotta say about it because it's pretty much covered already.
Right, and Ralph Macchio was smart enough to not do Soul Man.
Yeah.
Digital. What did you think of Karate Kid?
This just a great movie. I mean, Ralph Macchio was great in this movie. Pat Morita, awesome in this movie. And after you saw this movie as a kid, how many of us did not go home and try to emulate the crane kick?
Yeah,
we all did it.
Yes.
Everybody who saw that, even today, my youngest he tried to do the crane kick after he watched this movie.
I even did it with my
And-
toys. My trying to make
Yeah, I mean, it's just a cool move, and the sweep the legs guy, the guy who swept the legs, that actor just died here a couple of weeks ago.
Wait, Johnny Lawrence died?
Not Johnny, the guy that was told to sweep the leg.
The guy who told him
before-
to sweep the
Well,
leg.
yeah, before he fought Johnny.
The coach.
No,
okay.
not the coach. One of the competitors. He was a blonde like Johnny too, but he was the guy who fought. He fought him before Johnny did, and was told
because
to
it was
sweep the leg.
Kreese. It was John Kreese that told him to sweep the leg in the movie.
Right. John Kreese told him to sweep the leg, and that kid swept the leg, and then he had to go on to fight Johnny because the
"Get him
kid
a
that
body
swept the
bag."
leg was disqualified.
Well, I'll say this much. I can deny that I ever did that thing with the crane kick because I was already into boxing at that age. Ed, why don't you close us out on Karate Kid?
I tell you, one thing that I saw recently on the internet was a picture of Ralph Macchio, just like in the poster there, next to Pat Morita. When they filmed this, Pat Morita was 62 years old, and they did 62-year-old Pat Morita next to now 62-year-old Ralph Macchio. And I tell you, like Wilford Brimley and all these other guys in the 80s, we did not age well in the 80s. We've learned to age better. And because Ralph Macchio, he's always probably going to look like a kid. He still kind of looks like a kid. And obviously, this series went on. I say at the time, especially the first couple seasons of Cobra Kai, is hands down the best way to adapt an existing property like the Karate Kid trilogy, I think, or 2 or 3 films that it had, and to bring it to TV and make it new yet nostalgic at the same time. They did it perfectly with especially the early seasons of Cobra Kai. And I think they're about to close it out after maybe 6 seasons, which is amazing. And
I think it might have gone on a couple seasons too long. And
it may have. Yeah, it started to get really kind of violent, and that's kind of when I tuned out, and I just never got back to it. But
and the
exceptional.
convoluted way they try to suck everyone into it, like
But
for
yes,
big movies.
Yeah, right. Thank you. About the movie, it's very iconic. And listen to you guys talking to it, watching the trailer here. I'm regretting that it didn't make my top 10, and I'm starting to question why it didn't. But that's on me. This is a great film, and we may see some of the sequels later on in the years to come.
Yeah.
But this is
I agree with you, sir. It was hard to leave it off the list.
It was.
But with the stuff that's still to come on the list, it's easy to see why, I think. But it did make 2 people's list, so it gets a rank of C. Next on the list is the first thing picked by 3 people. It was picked by myself, Moto, and M3.
Mhm.
M3, why don't you lead us off on this one?
Hey, thanks. Yeah. First, hey, Heather, thanks for coming in. You always do that. I appreciate that. That's really cool of you. And Nightmare on Elm Street. Me and my wife both agree that this was our top scariest movie. Anybody say, "Oh, what about this and that?" We're just saying this one hit us hard, and we were like, "Damn!" From all the fucking dream scenes, just the fact that a guy can enter your dreamscape and alter your life, and his backstory. My son's like, "Hey, Dad, but Freddy Krueger, man, his backstory is like pedophile," and I'm like, "I know, right?" But I don't really dwell on that. It's just the fact that this guy had his past, got killed by all the parents in the fucking neighborhood, as he should, but made a pact with the devil or some shit, was able to bring him back.
Mhm.
I think they elaborate that in later films. But I mean, and then this thing, one of the ones, the shitty one was 2 or 3, where it didn't really have them in there, but all of them, Dream Warriors, you name them, I think they all did really good with the Freddy franchise. And he's so iconic today. I mean, everything about him is iconic, but that's all I got to say. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it yet, if you want to be like low key scared, like, oh shit, that's kind of a trip, smoke a joint, watch it. It's cool. Funny too.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that the the whole pedo angle on it was not in the initial like draft of it. He was just a child killer. But what I find hilarious about that is when they said he was like a pedo instead, it made it worse. I'm like, really? That's worse than killing them?
Yes.
You know,
Let
I'm
him
like,
live.
I think they're equally bad. You know, but anyways, yeah, Freddy Krueger, Wes Craven came up with like a genius slasher villain that has never been matched in cinema since. Many have tried, they've all failed. Freddy Krueger is so freaking iconic that he's on our thumbnail getting busted by the Ghostbusters.
Lies.
The death scenes in this, like when I was a kid watching this, and you know, she follows Nancy follows Tina's corpse like out into the hall of the school, and then that invisible force picks the corpse up by the legs in the body bag and drags it off screen. Like, man, the just the visuals in that movie are so iconic.
Yeah.
And I'll argue that the first Nightmare on Elm Street is the best Nightmare on Elm Street. I'll argue that to the death. I don't think many of the movies were great, but the first one was a masterpiece of horror. Moto, what have you got to say about Nightmare?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. This impacted our lives. This was never before seen, never before written, never before concept, you know. So watching this and then every death scene was intense. And I remember this is one of those movies that if you had the blanket or you had the pillow ready you were ready for it, because this one was pretty damn gory, and I loved it, and I've never seen anything like it. And to this day, I've seen a lot of people try to come up with new killers, but I think I might give Shocker back in the day a chance of being the last good killer.
Also, Wes Craven
movies, but other than that, if it's not Shocker, then to be honest with you, it really is. I hate to say it, Freddy Krueger from 40 years ago. That's how long it's been since we need a good, evil son of a bitch serial killer. And until then, it's going to be this, and it's going to be this movie alone. All the other ones are good, but they become campy. But this one right here was one that was one of its own. There was nothing like it before.
Nice. Yeah, for me, OG Skywatch says Doc and Dream Warriors 1987. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is probably the only other Nightmare movie that would make a top 10 list for me. Digital, how about you? How do you feel about Nightmare on Elm Street?
I love this movie. This is probably the best one. And again, I agree with you. The only other one that would be considered by me would be the third one. And they really should have stopped after that one, because the rest of them were kind of just junk until they got to Freddy versus Jason, which I thought was a really excellent movie too, in for this genre. But this one is, the first one is the best one. This one is the one that will give you nightmares. You worry about going to sleep, and God, do I live on, did this street used to be named Elm Street? And it's just crazy. And like that, it's so bloody, especially that Johnny Depp scene in the waterbed.
Yeah, right.
And, this movie just shows at the time what a genius in horror Wes Craven was. The new Nightmare, not so much. But this one, excellent. And
Ed, how about
I
you?
still love this movie.
If you guys wouldn't mind, would you mind answering that B question that I had? Has there been a better serial killer come out since him? Back 40 years ago?
The guy who can kill you in your fucking sleep.
So can all the other ones
Ed, what have you got to say about Nightmare?
Probably the Diddler, but we'll see. Time will tell. on that one. When you speak of, y'all made me think of this. Wes Craven, Stephen King, John Carpenter, they are the masters of horror, and they were all over the place in the 80s, especially with their films and some beyond. One thing that I hadn't thought of until we started talking about this was, I don't know if you'd call it misdirection, but it really is inherent to the makeup of this film, in the sense that you don't realize that the dream has already started. You're in that dream with the person on screen, and you're like, oh crap, this person's asleep, wake up. And then they do kind of an Inception thing where you're a dream inside of a dream, so you wake up in the dream. And I've done that where you're dreaming and you say, oh, I need to wake up, and you wake up, but then you realize you're still dreaming. You're like, oh crap. And so yeah, this movie, they should have stopped after maybe the second or third or whatever, but this one was a straight up great horror film, very indicative of the 80s. Freddy was extremely scary. Like, I'm not a big horror fan, but I realized how big this film was, and I did enjoy this film. And I liked watching it, but I didn't like watching it, if you know what I mean. And another thing about 80s films, the Freddy and the Jason films, kids were just down DTF, if you know what I mean. They were down to fill in the blank, and they could never get it on, because every time they were trying to get it on, here comes a serial killer. That sucked.
Well, at the end of the day, I call that natural selection. If you're dumb enough to have sex in a movie like this, then you deserve whatever slasher death is awaiting.
Sometimes you got to take what you can
same
get.
for people who look, they're running through the woods and look behind themselves.
Right.
They
You're
deserve
going
it
to
too.
fall on your face. It's a guarantee.
Let's
You're
run
an
into the
idiot.
graveyard.
Enjoy the last few seconds of your life. All right, Curtis. So why don't you tell us why my love of Nightmare on Elm Street is the reason you're trying to kill me?
Yeah, I think it's an all right movie. It's not my favorite slasher person. I like his jokes at times, and I like his claw. But like you say, he can kill you in the sleep. Any of those killers can kill you in your sleep. You just see him coming. But
yeah, with him it's a requirement.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just, as a young kid, it didn't scare me at all. I just wasn't too into that one for some reason. That's just it.
Well, if you were a girl, it probably would have changed your outlook on baths. But anyways, that was picked by 3 of us, and therefore it gets a rank of B. The next movie on the list is Red Dawn, also picked by 3 people. This was picked by Digital Caveman, Moto, and Curtis. Curtis, why don't you lead us off on Red Dawn?
Red Dawn starts off as a bunch of high school kids, I think they were getting out like for the weekend or something. And basically what happens is the Cubans and the Chinese come in and attack the United States, and they have to run to the hills, and then they try to basically try to rescue their parents and stuff to get out, but they, some of them get killed, and there's a whole, like, basically almost like the whole Breakfast Club type group is in there. There's a lot of people in that one.
They packed in a lot of brats.
Yeah, they packed in a lot of brats there. So, and then it's a like, what if the United States was attacked and how you would get through, and I don't know. It's just a great scenario movie. Things you think you might do if that would happen in actual terms, which might happen. That's all I'm going to say about it.
All right. And I'll say, just because she was just on the screen, Leah Thompson was the super hottest of the hot back in the day.
Yeah.
Moto, what have you got to say about Red Dawn?
Wolverines in a screaming voice all the way. Love this movie as a kid. You played this as a kid outside. It was awesome. This takes place in a small Colorado town where they start to invade. They take up to the hills, up to the mountains. There you go, shouting Wolverines right there. I like the character development C. Thomas Howell has there when he kills his first deer and he eats the deer heart and does that rite of passage. These kids are willing to survive. They're listening to their parents. They're getting into town. They're doing their intelligence. One kid, he can't help it. He breaks down. I don't know if the tracker was shoved up his ass or if he swallowed it, but that's how they were able to track him down. And that was the student council president. But they shot his ass. They shot his ass. Like the kid that ate the deer heart. That character development, he just shot him dead like it was fucking nothing. And then they fought as a resistance until finally America took back our homeland. And I've seen some of the scenes here, but I know most of this movie was actually filmed in California.
Digital, how about you? What do we got to add about Red Dawn?
Okay. I'm going to correct Curtis a little bit. It was the Cubans and the Russians were the ones who invaded.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
You got to remember, this was at the height of the Cold War, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, Leah Thompson, Jennifer Grey, you know, I mean, there were just so many names in this movie, you know, young folks, and such a great, you know.
Well, there are a lot of names in every movie, though.
Well, that's true. But names that became more well known.
Yeah, sorry about that. I said Chinese because I was thinking about today.
You're thinking about that damn new movie, which sucks. Don't watch that one. Watch this one. Don't watch the new one. That one sucks ass.
No, that new one.
It's not good.
No,
the new one is not good. The
Why?
newer one is not good. The one they made
that's
in
the one
like
that takes place.
It's not as
was
good
it?
as the first one, but it's
2018 or whatever.
Yeah.
With the dude that played Thor. And
I don't
Josh
know. See,
Hutcherson,
I wish
and it
instead
just
of
wasn't
redoing
good.
it, they would have done like a more modern day version of it. Because honestly, all the big cities, all the gangbangers would fuck up some Russian troops.
Oh,
man.
no
I'm sorry,
shit,
but
man.
that's just the truth.
No shit.
Yeah, I thought this movie was pretty
But
good.
it's a great movie.
I enjoyed it a lot when I was a kid. You know, I didn't
watched
think
the
there was
shit out
enough
of
Leah Thompson and Jennifer Grey to go around for the guys. I thought that was unfortunate. You know, just like in The Mummy, the weasel got his comeuppance. You know, but other than that, you know, I think you guys pretty much said everything. M3, anything to add?
Yeah, doesn't Leah Thompson take a grenade to the stomach? She has to protect. She's like, "Fuck it, when they come." She takes
I want to say
by
I
the
think
tree.
so, toward the end, yeah.
Yeah, towards the end by the tree. That movie's great. It always that was during the Rambo time, and me and my friends at school we just played with the Green Army men. We played with the fucking Hot Wheels in the dirt and all that shit. This movie was right at that time and shit. We would talk about it at school and fucking what would you do? Fucking holy crap, you know, that's crazy. And
Yeah,
then
we would play it, dude.
yeah, pretty cool. That's all I gotta say. Oh, old school's here. What up, old school?
Shout out old school.
Yeah,
Jennifer
anything else
Grey
for
is
the
that
chat,
girl.
M3? It's been a while since we checked in.
Let's see. Well, old school shouted out Wolverine. Brian King said, "What the fuck is Curtis talking about?"
Nice.
Curtis doesn't even know.
That's weird.
Well, with 3 votes, this gets a rank of B. Moving on, the next thing on the
hello?
list, also with only 3 votes, which is a travesty against filmmaking.
Me?
Tragedy.
Hey, what about
The
me?
Last Starfighter,
Profit.
picked by Digital, Ed, and myself.
Profit. Oh, hey, I didn't get to talk.
Oh, you didn't get to talk about the. I'm sorry.
No.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, talk
That's
about
okay.
Red Dawn. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I didn't mean to steal the spotlight.
I will
It's-
be right back. Rental period.
Well, you need to hear this. Well, before you leave, Caveman, I got to correct you. Yes, this one was an excellent film, but the sequel was very good.
That wasn't a sequel. It was a remake, and it sucked ass.
It was a remake, and they didn't. And they changed it, I think, to the Chinese. I think I'm not sure.
Chinese and North Koreans.
Yeah, which makes
Yeah.
it more relevant than the Russians. Well, who knows?
Yeah.
But
Not at
Oh,
the
shit.
time.
anyway, so
yeah.
but
well, like okay.
and one thing I can tell you, this film would have never been set like in Civil War, which was pretty good this year. It would have never been set with California and there wouldn't have been a California and Texas coalition. And this film wouldn't have worked if it was set in the South or in Texas. So,
No. It would not. In
yeah.
Southeast Georgia, my dad used to talk about
yeah.
they would never invade us because we
They
just
would
moved to
never.
the swamp and kick their
This
ass.
has nothing to do with Civil War, man. Civil War was like
No, I know. I know.
America versus America,
I-
man. That's not an
I will
invasion
be right
film.
back.
I know. And just in the sense
The
of it,
comparison
Hamilton had-
seems like grasping at political straws.
Well, I'm not going there, but I'm just saying what I'm saying is, yeah, this was a great film. That this cast was totally stellar for Red Dawn. And this is another one I'm kicking myself that I couldn't fit it somehow in my top 10, and I wish I could have. It's
Well, at
definitely
least
worth
it's on
seeing.
the upper half of the chart, right?
Yes, it's a great film.
But next on the list, we've got The Last Starfighter. And Ed, why don't you start us off on The Last Starfighter?
This is possibly one of the quintessential films of the 80s. I don't want to steal this from Prophet, but this film just is begging to be made in today's technology. It would be even more awesome. But this is such a great film. There's nothing bad about this film. There were two films in the 80s that I really loved that were kind of sci-fi related. Enemy Mine was the other one. And I kind of somehow always connected these two films. They're not connected, but I just, in my mind, put them together as two films I really liked. And there was so much, we're looking at the trailer, and the trailer's so awesome. And I can't remember the actors and who the guy with the hat is that was kind of his mentor. That
Robert
came down.
Preston. Oh, my
Thank
God.
you. He is so fantastic in this film. This film is just utter perfection. If I had to probably pick a number or in the top films of the 80s, I would definitely put this in there because it definitely deserves it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it only got voted by 3, so it's not going to have any shot at S tier. This movie for me, as a child, was one of my absolute favorites. I must have watched this hundreds of times. Every kid has that fantasy of like being collected to be brought to go be a hero somewhere. You know what I mean? And doing it in a kick-ass starfighter would be, just the best. This is one of those movies. This is probably the quintessential movie for me that I think would really benefit from special edition treatment. Now, I'm not saying remake it. I'm saying take the existing movie and fix the effects. You know what I mean? Bring the effects up to date, and re-release it. And this movie would be just as good today as it was then. But yeah, Alex was hilarious with his clone when he's got his head detached because he's working on it, and his little brother wakes up and he says, "Go back to bed or I'll tell mom about your pornos." Like, hilarious.
Yeah.
But Robert Preston, for those of you young whippersnappers that don't know who he is or why it's significant that he's in the film, just take my word. Robert Preston was a amazing actor with a very long and storied career that deserves recognition. And this was one of his last films. It might have been his very last film, I think. But yeah, amazing film that deserves some touch-up work. Digital, if you're back,
I am back. I have returned.
why don't you give us your take on The Last
What
Stop?
a great movie. I mean, seeding the planet, trying to find their starfighters. So on Earth, they make the test a video game, and who knows how many video games they released in North America, and only one guy makes it. And then out of all the other guys who made it from other planets, they all get killed. He's the only one that actually he gets to be the last starfighter.
Wow.
And It's just great. And the actor you were talking about, I'm assuming that's the guy who came to pick him up, his recruiter.
Yeah, the guy in the limo.
Yeah. So I mean, just a fantastic movie. Yeah. Could it use some SFX updates? Certainly, but it's a great story, and I think the visuals fit the movie. And let's just fuck up the Codon Armada.
I'm just saying, clean up the edges on the space combat, so it doesn't look like home console graphics from 1989.
Really bad CGI.
Yeah. Just clean it up, and this movie can be re-released, and everyone will love it. And I have to say, Ed, I think that the connection that you made between Enemy Mine in this film might be because his co-pilot looks a lot like the alien.
Yeah.
Could be. You're right. Yeah.
Which in Enemy Mine, it was Louis Gossett Jr. Not he wasn't in this one though.
Joe Studio says the Death Blossom weapon handled business, and he was right. I forgot about that. That was so badass.
However, I'm sure you'd be throwing up in the cockpit after using it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Curtis, so anything to add on Last Starfighter?
Not really. It was good. I liked it. You guys pretty much got it all.
All right, Moto, how about you? Anything to add?
Enjoyed this movie as a kid. Saw it maybe 2-3 times, and that's about it. It's a good movie.
Nice. M3.
Yeah, hey, this movie's fucking sick, dude. And long story short, I love the last part. I love fucking everything that digital kind of really broke it down. And I'm asking, was that a book? And did you read it digital? Because you the way you read what you or where you said what you said, I was like, damn, that sounds deep. He's the last.
No, it's not. It's not a book outside of the movie that I know of. I'm sure there was a novelization. Of it.
I wonder if they did a comic or anything.
Yeah.
There was no other tie-in media that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, back then you didn't need it.
Man, shout out Zach. What up, Zach? That's all I got.
All right. Doe Studio says no puking, man. I have plenty of tilt the world practice.
Yes. Nice.
But anyways, this movie was picked by 3 people, so it gets a rank of B. Moving on, the next film, this was picked by 4 people, which is sad because it won't make S tier. But Ed, Moto, myself, and Curtis all picked this one. Curtis, you haven't gone first in ages. Why don't you go first?
Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy.
Beverly Hills what?
I thought he said something else too.
I think he did.
You sure that wasn't M3?
Did you say penis?
No.
Oh,
sound like it. That must have been some porn he watched.
No, but Beverly Hills Cop, Eddie Murphy's at his height, and this ended up being a really, really good movie. He's trying to bust somebody or whatever in Detroit, and he ends up going to California. I'm just going to do it really short because everybody else is going to be long. He goes basically undercover on his own whim, on his own leave time and stuff. And he starts going into the Beverly Hills Cop Police Department and then ends up getting help from them, even though they don't want him there doing that stuff, but then they end up helping him. And it's got a lot of great, funny characters in it. It's got a bunch of other actors in it. I'll let everybody else bring up the actors because everybody's going to talk about it. So go on from there. Whoever's next, go.
Let's see. Who is next? Moto.
Oh, I absolutely love this movie. It set off. It was great. It was a great trilogy. Not so much number 3, and I like how it was made fun of itself at number 3. But this movie right here is great. Shout out John Ashton, who just recently passed away up here in Fort Collins. That's him right there, who plays one of the detectives. Forgive me, my head is
Taggart.
Taggart, yeah, he just recently passed. I mean, but this movie was hysterical, action packed. It was classic '80s, man. It was, what was the bullet count in this movie, and what was the death count? And it was and hysterical, and then look at this classic. You know what I mean?
Rocky.
And he tells him to get the out of here. It's just to me, it was a great movie. It was a great movie. I wish I would have saw it in the theater, but we rented it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film. All I've got to say is, could you tell Victor that Ramon, the fella he met about a week ago, I went to my doctor, to my physician, and found out that I have herpes simplex 10. And I was just thinking that he should go check things out with his own physician to make sure nothing's falling off on the man. Yeah, this movie, it's like peak Eddie Murphy. It's hilarious from end to end. Judge Reinhold, like fucking maniac. Love him in this series. Yeah, just the opening scene like establishes who Axel Foley is. Like when he's on the back of the cigarette truck trying to get away. And it's a cigarette truck, so there's your 80s. But yeah, I think it's an amazing movie, and it's sad that it isn't S tier. Ed, how about you, man?
This is a quintessential 80s film. I'm surprised it isn't S tier. Even the Axel Foley they did on Netflix was very good. And the weakest is the third film in the, I guess it's 4 films now. And it was good to see Taggart. They bring him back before the actor had passed away and all that. And they brought everybody back. And it was great. I mean, y'all have said everything there is to say about this film. It's just Eddie Murphy at his peak. And he could do no wrong in this film. And it's iconic. It's just masterful. It's so funny. He's even had to retire his signature laugh because people come up to him exactly everywhere and want to hear that laugh. So he now laughs differently. And that's how iconic and ever present Eddie Murphy was, from Saturday Night Live to film to TV. He was everywhere, to music even. And, 1985, Party All the Time with Rick James. So, great film.
All right, red light, stop right there where you are. That's an Eddie Murphy song. Anyways, digital.
I agree. I wish that I was able to pick this one, but I agree with everything you guys said. But you left out an important part: the old banana up the tailpipe trick.
Oh, you just take those bananas.
No, I'm giving them out.
We don't want your bananas.
I'm giving those bananas out.
He's a pitcher, not a catcher.
Nice. Well, you know who does want a banana? M3. What did you think of the movie?
It sucked, he said.
This is in my top 20, and I've watched it once or twice. It's cool. Eddie, this is a huge compliment in my mind. Everything Eddie Murphy blends together. And so there's nothing really that was in this movie that wasn't in another one, like 2, or same with like Jackie Chan, there's just things that they play a role, and he's cool. And then the Golden Child, all that kind of stuff. Chosen One,
awesome.
Chosen One and shit. Pretty good. I liked it. I just didn't make my top 10, but Starman did.
He's the star,
right? That's chat, give him hell. What does the chat say again, 3?
OG Skywatch is there. We're talking about rides and shit. Geek was talking about going to a fair, so I was talking about going to a fair, and he ends with there's a ride at the amusement park where it 25.
Oh, they're still having the puke conversation there.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, we'll move on then.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
All right. Yes, that's our first.
I want to add one thing on.
4 people's votes.
I want to add one thing on to that movie, that Beverly Hills Cop 1984. That was the year's highest grossing movie.
It was.
I don't doubt it.
It was. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, sadly, 2 people didn't think it was worth it, so it only gets an A. But next on the list is Romancing the Stone, another one picked by 4 people. This would be DC, M3, myself, and Curtis. M3, you've ended almost all of these. Why don't you start this one?
Hey, thanks. This is great, man. I've seen this many times when she's got a treasure map. He's got a fucking Danny DeVito is a perfect addition. She gets stuck on a bus and he happens to be that fucking wild man, just like in her books and shit. No one's after you watch it 5 times, you think it's maybe, and this is all just a make believe in her head, but I like her a lot. She's great. And Michael Douglas is fucking awesome. And they're getting a jewel. You got the little mule in there. You got the guy that gets his hand bit. And it's great. I love it. I'll stop right there and let everybody else go on some of that stuff too. But I've seen it many times. This is great. I'm glad it's in my top 10.
Digital, how about you?
The chemistry between the main parts of the cast, between Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas and Danny DeVito, I mean, you just can't beat the chemistry in that. And then you add the writing for this movie on top of that, and this movie is just over the top for it's comedy. It has a little bit of everything for everybody in this movie. It's got some action in it, it's got some romance in it, it's got some comedy in it, and this is really the first movie I ever remember seeing Danny DeVito in. And I remember seeing this at the drive-in. I saw this at the drive-in.
Because I saw Danny DeVito in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It came out the year I was born.
Well, see, I didn't watch that later until I was an adult.
Yeah, well, I watched it when I was a kid, so obviously not when it came out, But I did watch it before I watched this. I would say Michael Douglas is amazing in this. If I had found that same exact plane in the jungle, I might not have been able to walk away from all that as easy as they did. I think Danny DeVito is amazing in this movie. He's definitely a highlight for sure. I will say that if I were to slide down a mudslide and I got to land in the place that Michael Douglas did, I would happily take that mudslide fall. And beyond that, I will say, would you look at those snappers, Curtis?
Yeah.
Curtis?
Well, was that for me to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your segue, Curtis.
That's your segue.
Sorry, I'm a little off tonight. Yeah, I saw this on VHS and cable many a times. It was a very fun movie to watch. It was well directed, like you said, and had great chemistry, great actors and actresses. The whole alligator thing was great. Dude got his hand bit off. And then I'm sure everybody's seen this. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's great. It's got a little Indiana Jones or Tomb Raider type action in it. It's got comedy, like they said, and romance. So it's a great movie with a little bit of everything in it.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful, and Kathleen Turner's never looked better.
Yeah, that's
you didn't pick this. Why don't you explain to us why you have bad taste?
Say that again.
I said you didn't pick this. Why don't you explain to us why you have bad taste?
Oh, there's just so many more better movies than this. This movie was great, though. It was an adventure, and Kathleen Turner played such an astonishing, great, annoying fucking female. That made it a lot of fun. But yeah, this movie as a sequel was pretty damn good. It was fun. It was a fun adventure,
Well, this wasn't the sequel. This was the first one.
Oh, this is the first one.
Yeah, the Jewel of the Nile is the sequel.
See, that shows you what I know. Yeah, that's just
there you go.
A good movie, man. It's fun. It's fun to watch and enjoy, but it's not like anything I'll put in the memory bank.
Ed, you didn't pick this movie either. Why don't you explain to us why you're wrong?
Because I'm an idiot. I have more D's on my list than I have anything. I won't disagree. Like every great 80s movie, there was musical component to this. In 84, we had Eddie Grant singing Electric Avenue, or 83 or 84. And when this came out in '84, he did the theme song "Romancing the Stone," and then Billy Ocean did in "Jewel of the Nile." When the going gets tough, the tough get going, where all three of the major characters were in the video, and it was so fun. But yeah, this Curtis touched on something I was going to say. When there wasn't an Indiana Jones movie out, there was Romancing the Stone or Jewel of the Nile. So they kind of filled that in and put more comedy into it. And Danny DeVito has been working since Taxi, I think was probably one of the earliest things he did. Way into the 90s.
First feature was 1973, One Flew Over
the Cuckoo's Nest. And yeah, I wasn't an adult then or alive. But yeah. So, but yeah. Maybe I was. It's before my time.
You're older than me, so you were alive.
No, I was born in '70, so I wasn't quite there yet. I was a thought maybe, but anyway, or like, oh my god, what happened?
What?
What? Anyway, back to the movie. So it's just the ensemble cast of that trio. They're perfect, and when you get all the way through Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, and then you get to probably the best film I think that those three did together was War of the Roses, which is a masterpiece. But we'll see that in the 90s. This is a great, fun film. If you just want a good popcorn film, you can't do better than this film. Romancing the Stone is definitely a yes.
It really has. And the chat has hit a very small wrinkle. In the chat, we now have a bullwinkle.
Hey, Bull.
A bull wrinkle?
We talked about Merman, Bull, because of Splash.
Yeah, you missed it.
Right, yeah, well, he's too late. But this movie only was picked by 4, so it gets a rank of A. Moving on, the next film, our first S-ranked film of the night, picked by everybody except for Ed, Gremlins. So we're going to go ahead and let Digital start this one because he hadn't started one in a while. Digital, why don't you start us off on Gremlins?
You know, right along with Die Hard, this is one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made. And, you know, the makers of these movies might say, well, it's not a Christmas movie. It's a fucking Christmas movie.
It is.
Look, it's snowing right there. They blew up a gremlin in the microwave. And, just when I was a child, this captured my imagination. And I was like, wow, this cute little thing. And then you get it wet and it multiplies. And then if you feed it after midnight, holy shit, you get these ugly motherfuckers. So, and just like some of the things that the Gremlins did in the movie, like the old rich lady who had the chair, the stair lift or whatever, she went flying out the window. I mean, some of the, it's you look at it today and you're like, oh, that's kind of in bad taste, but fuck, it was funny as hell. And then, parts of it were really dark too.
Why are things that are in bad taste always the things that taste best?
I don't know. It's
that's what she said.
I don't know, but that's like the funniest shit, man. Because I mean, who doesn't remember the old lady flying out the damn window?
Oh, yeah, I've known many an old lady I've wanted to launch out a window. No, this movie's fantastic, and the Gremlins themselves are kind of an allegory for growing up, right? When they're Mogwai like Gizmo, they're cute, cuddly, kind of easy to manage. But then they want to stay up past midnight. They become teenagers, and they're unruly, and they're selfish, and they're just little bastards, right? All because they get to eat when they want and stay up as late as they want. It changes them. But Gremlins, amazing Christmas movie. Like very far from what the old mythology of Gremlins were, that they were like put on the American planes by the Japanese to sabotage us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. And I don't want to go ahead and get him wet, so we'll go ahead and let M3 go next.
Hey, thanks.
Oh God, he's gonna get
wait,
wet.
you don't want to get M3 wet?
Yeah, we don't want M3 to get the gremlin.
Yeah, I
right
know
either.
it's like walking on eggshells, but because it doesn't take much.
Just the wind blowing by gets me wet, man. No, but everything you guys are saying is really good, and just the concept that the only creature that's ever bested Bugs Bunny is a gremlin, and he takes him in that he's driving that flying that plane, and there's a gremlin on that plane, and it's the only thing that fucking bested. So Gremlins is fucking perfect. So this movie kind of matches that comical of, hey, that's what they do. They're supposed to fuck with shit. They fuck with everything. Oh, it's fucking good, man. I love it. It just causes chaos, man. It's perfect.
Sequel, not so much.
I know, Kurt, I'm going to take this from you, man. I'm so sorry, Phoebe Cates, dude. Oh,
Go.
the obvious.
Yes.
The obvious.
Yeah, I was gonna say if that doesn't prove it's a Christmas movie, because it's always Christmas when Phoebe Cates is on screen.
Yes.
Curtis, why don't you tell us how upset you are that M3 brought that up?
I'm not upset. I just, like, because it's Phoebe Cates, like, she's gorgeous. Like, she's got that baby. She's still kind of got that baby face.
Just young. Yeah, I like that. She's so just cool, too. She's a funny person.
It is a Christmas movie. I mean, shit, they make toys and Christmas ornaments with Christmas stuff on. It's a Christmas movie. It's during Christmas. There's Christmas trees. There's Christmas presents given.
Yeah.
And
They're wearing lights on them when they're tearing everything up. It's Christmas.
I mean, NECA makes the Carola versions of them.
Yep. So it's a great movie. It's one of my faves, and it's it's a must watch every Christmas.
Every Christmas. Amen.
Hey, Queen Bee.
Moto Viper, what do you think of it?
Love it. All-time classic. I'll always be on the list. And yeah, definitely Christmas time movie for sure.
Nice. So, Ed, why don't you tell us why you don't want a Mogwai?
Well,
Fuck her.
if there was ever an autobiographical film about me, it's probably Gremlins. You don't want to talk to me about my podcast because I turn into a gremlin. And if you don't subscribe, I turn into a gremlin. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Also,
yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
feeds his dog after midnight.
I did. I fed my dog the other night, and he was up all night driving me and my wife crazy. And
Yeah,
it's all
hey,
my
Chat,
fault.
don't worry about feeding him after midnight. He lives in his own house. If he does gremlin out, he'll only fuck up his own shit.
That's right. And I'm trying to change this stream from M3's wet dream after midnight, which it turned into, because I don't think any of us want to be there.
Speak for yourself.
Lies.
I know, lies everywhere, lies. Gremlins is I don't know why I didn't pick this. This just shows to me how tough this 1984 list was, and some of the ones coming up. And so something had to give, and I had to send the Gremlins packing, me and Bugs Bunny. So we sent them on, and anyway, great film though.
Yeah, well, due to its lack of it still gets S rank, but it didn't get everybody's vote. Thanks to Ed not knowing what he's talking about. Next on the list, another one that got only 5 votes. Everybody except for M3.
What the hell?
Who will now go in Indiana Jones jail for the rest of the show.
Starman.
You're going to
Moto
the temple
Viper,
there.
Why don't you start us off, Moto Viper?
Yeah, to be honest with you, this is the first movie that I saw. I saw this before I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and saw this in a theater. And from beginning to end, it was nonstop action. And you're a kid, and there's kids involved. You're rooting for kids. You're rooting for Indiana Jones, and the adventure it doesn't stop, and it's great. And I'll leave it open for other people to fill in the gaps.
Incidentally, Frank, it's interesting that you saw this before Raiders because chronologically it is before Raiders.
I know, right? Right.
Digital, why don't you take it over?
Okay. I don't know about you guys, but like toward the end of the movie when they're hanging on the bridge and, Indy has the stones in his bag and mull around trying to, snatch the bag from him. And then, all of a sudden Short Round yells, "Indy, cover your heart." And then it's like Mola Ram suddenly remembered he could pull people's hearts out of their chest and was trying to do this. Is that just me, or does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Right, like he would have been fine if the kid hadn't
Yeah,
reminded
if
him.
he just sat up at the top of the bridge and shut the hell up, he'd have got his fortune and glory and knocked the guy down to get eaten by the crocodiles. But fantastic movie. I don't think it was nearly as good as Raiders. It's kind of like the odd numbered films like Star Trek. The odd number films kind of aren't quite as good.
What happened to your?
I'm gonna say I'm not gonna say that I agree or disagree with that, but I will say that there's no time for love, Dr. Jones. It's time to let Curtis talk.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear us, but we can't hear you, Digital.
I heard digital just fine.
I heard him too.
No, he went out. His mic
went out.
gave
He
out.
went out.
He's switching.
Okay,
There you go.
I'm back. Am I back now?
Yeah, you're
Oh.
back.
Okay,
Oh,
I was
did I
gonna-
move on? You were still talking? I thought you were done. 'cause
Yeah,
I couldn't hear you.
it was just my mic died. My
Hey,
bad.
it did it at the right time because Prophet took over instantly and said, something.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. It was good. Good.
Okay, so all I gotta
Uh,
say is Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Club Obi-Wan.
Yes, that is great.
That was a great opening sequence. I have
Yeah.
to say.
That was awesome.
No Hachi.
And,
Yeah, I never knew I needed to hear anything goes in Mandarin.
and this one had the hottest chick that he ever had any of the movies.
Spielberg married her.
married her.
Yeah, and yeah, so like it was great. The whole they were in the temple and all the lava scenes and shit, and it was just great. That whole scene where they're sitting there eating stuff and they're like got these giant beetles and they're just like
Baked Beatles. Snake surprise.
yeah,
Chilled monkey brains.
yeah. That was crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Let the next person go because there's a lot to talk about. I don't want to.
Yeah, Kate Capshaw really was a trooper. Like that one scene where Indy's looking through the hole and he's like, "We are going to die." Like she actually
Yeah.
had to have all those bugs on her, man. That like even I'd be squeamish,
Yeah. Nasty bug.
But let's see who's next. Moto already talked on it.
Yeah.
Ed, go ahead.
I'm going to be real quick and let Caveman say what he was trying to finish saying, but I'll say real quick. My favorite was Raiders, but very close, if not right ahead of that, is Last Crusade with Sean Connery. I loved that indie version. So, Caveman, what else do you have to say? Is there
What
anything-
I was saying was like the odd numbered Indiana Jones movies, generally, not counting the last one, ended up being the better than the even numbered movies, But
Well,
that's not
the Kingdom
not
of the Crystal Skull.
we don't speak of that.
we don't talk about Indiana Jones and the space aliens from your anus.
We don't.
Hey, they're not from my anus.
And we don't talk about the dial of dysentery.
Yeah, we
The
don't
last
talk
one.
about that one yet.
I never.
But,
seen that one.
Raiders and Last Crusade for me, it's always it's neck and neck for those two as to which one is the better one. And this one, not that it's a bad movie, it's just not as good as the other two, in my opinion. Your mileage, of course, may vary, but hey, lady, you call him Dr. Jones.
See, for me, the first one's the best, and this one's neck and neck with Last Crusade. M3, what about you?
Really, why this didn't hit my top 10 was the way I got my favorite 10 for this list was going back to my accounts and seeing what was I watching, because I watch a lot of movies, right? And I go back to the 80s a lot and shit, like all that. So this one of the three, I choose to go to the other two than this one. So this one, I haven't rewatched it since I've rewatched it a long time ago. Anyway, and Ursa is my favorite Indiana Jones girl. She's beautiful.
Elsa.
Elsa.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she is beautiful.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I have an action figure of her
That's
This
great.
is how we say
How
goodbye in
come you haven't sent
Austria.
me an action figure of her?
This is
Shame
how
on
we
you.
say goodbye in Germany.
because it's not your birthday, and
Shame on
because you're
you.
trying to kill me.
Oh,
Shame
no.
on you. Shame on you.
That movie's great.
Anyways, it gets a rank of S, even though it didn't get all the votes. It got 5 out of 6. The next film on the list, The Terminator. Again, not picked by M3. We're just gonna go straight down the line this time from top to bottom. Curtis, why don't you tell M3 why he's an idiot?
Because he never remembers the day after. Sorry. Well, no.
That's a good one.
Of course, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and The Terminator was just a great science fiction action movie. Horror. You can count it as horror. And you don't know that he is a robot. You just think he's like this like killing machine. And then let me start over. Let's go to the beginning of it. You know, this guy comes through his time warp thing, and he's looking for Sarah Connor, and he finds her, and then he tells her that she's going to have a baby that leads the revolution, basically, in the future from the machines. And he comes through, and he just fucks everybody up. It's so good. So everybody knows what this is. I don't know anybody that has not seen it. I've not come across a person who has not seen this.
I don't think M3 saw it because he didn't pick it.
He probably just forgot.
Yeah, this movie is an icon of sci-fi horror.
Yeah,
it was suspenseful. The cinematography was amazing. All the horror elements that you needed were there. All the sci-fi elements that you needed were there. Mm-hmm. Reese was a great side protagonist because I kind of give him and Sarah equal credit in this first movie as protagonists. Arnold as the Terminator, one of the most terrifying movie monsters of all time. You know, it just won't stop. You can't kill it, you know, apparently without a hydraulic press.
Better than Freddy.
Well, he's higher on the list than Freddy, so there you go. It's a totally different category, in my opinion.
Yes.
Comparing apples to oranges.
I'm just teasing.
But yeah, this movie is top notch, and M3's a weirdo for not picking it. Moto, how about you?
I absolutely love this movie. It's still one of my favorite movies. I'll watch this movie anytime. Sometimes I'll put it on when I can't find anything to even stream. I'll watch Terminator. I just absolutely love this movie, start to finish. Just made me an Arnold fan. I mean, once Conan came out and then this, game over. Arnold was my hero.
Nice. Digital?
You know, I don't know if you guys know or not, but the other actor who was in the running to play the Terminator, I'm sure Ed knows this because he's, you know, Terminator super fan. But the other actor who was in the running to play the Terminator besides Schwarzenegger was O.J. Simpson. So can you guys imagine if O.J. Simpson had
Killer?
gotten the
No.
role?
But one correction on that. Cameron actually recently shot that rumor down. He said that was a rumor that was floating around, but it actually wasn't OJ, but it would have been crazy if it was.
But
Sorry.
Well, thank you for that.
Sorry.
But you know, again, like Moto said, you know, iconic role for Schwarzenegger, and you know, Terminator movie without Schwarzenegger is severely lacking. I just take a look at what was it, Terminator Salvation, but the one thing I do like about the Terminator series is like they try. It's kind of like a different type of movie with each iteration. Like the first one was kind of more in the thriller horror category. The second and third ones were more in the action vein. The third one, or the fourth one, was more like a war movie. The fifth one leaned much more into the sci-fi elements of it. But you know, even though
Ed and I were talking about how that's like Cameron's formula the other day, because he did the same thing with Aliens. The first one was a horror movie. The second one was an action film.
Yeah.
Third one was like a drama type thing.
Yeah. And then they try to like another action movie with the fourth one.
Well, that fourth one was full blown sci-fi, in my opinion.
Okay.
But
I
how
can
about
see
you?
that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Digital. Were you still going?
Well, I was just saying, what an excellent movie, and it shows off what a great filmmaker can do with little to no budget. And I'm sure Ed will get into this a lot more about how they did guerrilla filmmaking to get this movie. And
yeah, right. I would put Cameron in the same category as Carpenter in that respect.
Yeah.
Ed,
so I'll turn it over to Ed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam. I'm sorry for interjecting there earlier. But yeah, I'm a massive Terminator fan. So I don't have any Terminator related action figures. So if you're looking for a birthday present for me in April or Christmas before that, I will accept all donations, like, share, and subscribe, or I'll turn into a gremlin again. Gosh, yeah.
They make a Sarah Connor figure as an old lady from the last one.
I still love it. I will stand here or sit here because I'm too lazy and old. I will sit here and defend every Terminator film, even the bad ones or the not so popular ones. I liked Dark Fate. Yes, there are things about it. Nothing is going to ever be better. There's no action film, and I'll fight you to the death on this, better than Terminator 2, hands down.
You won't have to fight me on that one.
And the first Terminator film, I would argue with you. I'm not a big horror fan, but I know what I'm saying, and of course I'm right on this. There's no better horror film than the first Terminator. And
what about the new cartoon?
I liked it. I even like the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I have the DVD from like season 1 here.
I like it, except till they got to the 3 dot shit.
Yeah, with Shirley Hansen. Was it Shirley Hansen from any Cranberries was in there?
Shirley Manson from Garbage.
They changed it. Yeah,
I've never seen it.
Yeah, but it wasn't garbage. Trust me, some of the films were, but I still love them. But yeah, they Cameron recently said that that Arnold read for the part of Reese, and the more he watched Arnold, the more in his mind he was starting to sound like the Terminator. And he said Arnold would keep making notes on his script that he turned back into Cameron about different things that he think inflections and how the Terminator should walk and act. And for me, I remember the first film I saw 7 times in the theater, which was my record until episode 1 came out, or episode 1 of the Star Wars prequels, was Terminator 2. And I remember going around and like people, I'm weird and geeky this way. I would do the whole Robert Patrick thing where I would turn my head. Sometimes I'm in the mall. Kid? Yeah. I was like, have you seen Sarah Connor? I would do the head turn like this so I could look very robotic. I was like really into it. I'm a hardcore Terminator fan. So, the fact, who didn't pick this? Who am I supposed to hate now and have Terminated?
So we're about to get to him. We have learned that Ed has a robot fetish.
Bring on the AI.
But M3 did not pick this film, and I know M3 really likes Judgment Day, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So maybe he omitted this for that. He's probably about to tell us. But at the end of the day, before we let M3 say his piece, I just want to say, whatever the reason is, you're fucking wrong, man. All right,
I agree.
Okay, I also have a robot fetish, but for the female robots, not so much the male robots. Then again, I'm not judging the Terminator franchise. Oh my gosh, number 2 and 3 are amazing, so fucking cool.
Like 3 better than 1, Chad.
Look at, I even put it on the top of my list, right there. It was the top of my list, but I've thought to myself, the way I'm going to choose to do this favorites is how many times I've watched it and how many times did I buy it? Did I rent it? Oh shit, I did. Not this one. I've watched this one only when it was out or available, and then I've seen it maybe 2 other times in my life. But 2 I've seen 10 times. 3 I've seen 11 or 12 times.
Because of the chick.
Love them, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to challenge the chat as your penance for not picking this film. Everybody's to go out and buy some Terminator action figures and flood his mailbox with them. Like literally. Start sending tons of Terminator stuff
that
to
would
him.
be a reward. Flood
He
my
only
mailbox with them.
He only
Blood
wants
mine.
Christina Loken action figures.
Everything
Anyways,
but Christina
thanks to
Loken.
M3 and his neglect, the Terminator, which I forgot to run the trailer again, is still just rank S, but not with everybody's pick.
Shame on you.
So the final movie here, the one movie that everybody picked,
Yeah.
is the Ghostbusters.
Who you talking
And
about?
this time we'll go from bottom to top. M3, start us off.
On the bottom.
And then I seen this when I was a kid. I loved it. I couldn't believe it. And then, oh, dude, school was the best
By
place.
Ray Parker Jr.
School was the best place to like display your Ghostbusting
Uh-oh,
skills.
copyright strike.
Yeah,
I heard that.
Don't do that. Whoever's doing that, mute them.
That was Curtis.
But
Go
yeah,
ahead.
school was the best place to display your Ghostbusting skills. You know, the cartoon, amazing. Everything that spawned from this movie, except for the one where they're all women. Oh God.
Oh God, that was
This
horrible.
one, yeah,
Don't
this
get
one
me
right here
started.
for what it is was so great. Slimer, they're being. We never seen this technology before, where 4 guys get a hold of these fucking nuclear packs and are ready to have traps. Then they put them into the fucking cities. They have that grid that they can pop them in. I love it. And then here comes the asshole. I'll stop and let you guys go, but there's so much to say about this movie. And I gotta say, there is a scene where she is sitting down, Sigourney Weaver sitting down in her chair, and the arms come up out of it and they grab her.
Oh
They
yeah.
pull her fucking shirt to the side. You got
Mhm.
Tay and
Mhm.
Ghostbusters, motherfuckers. Check it out.
Nice.
Leave it to M3. All right, Ed, take it over. But keep in mind, we're already 17 minutes past the 3-hour mark.
I know it's crazy, isn't it? And it's not all my fault this time. Yay. Caveman,
Well,
you have
actually,
to.
we started at 10 after, so we're 7 minutes past the 3-hour mark.
I'll try to go real quick. Caveman, feel free to jump in and help me out here. Ghostbusters is quintessential 80s. It is fan freaking tastic. Everything M3 said and is right about it. Even the sequels, I didn't like the second one as good. It was weak compared to the first one, but I still enjoyed it. For me, Afterlife bringing back the original cast and Harold Ramis is one of the best perfect ways. They should have ended the whole franchise there and then, or just, totally went with the new one. But I did like parts of Frozen Empire and there was some wokeness in there, but they kind of hid it. But it's still I still enjoy the whole Ghostbusters thing, but I don't think Ghostbusters was ever meant to be this long trilogy or 4 films. It really wasn't meant to be stretched the fandom out that far, but it could have survived off the first film alone and still be iconic. And I know as action figure collectors, I'm not sure what the market is for the action figures on that, but I gotta imagine there's a lot of interest there, and it's just a perfect film. And whoever's next can go.
Yeah, it's true. Whether you want the cartoon ones or high-end ones or cheap ones, there's options out there for you.
Oh
But
yeah.
there's no 1/12 scale Ecto 1. Fuck you,
Nope.
toy industry.
Yes,
Did you-
toy industry. Fuck you. Well, I'm gonna continue off. Can you guys imagine? Okay, the Winston part was originally wrote for Eddie Murphy.
And he
So can
turned
you
it
guys-
down to do because he was doing Beverly Hills Cop.
Right. It was more scheduling conflict than turning it down. But can you guys imagine that if Eddie Murphy was in this movie
Oh
too?
my God.
Well, the thing is, if we'd
I
have got
mean-
Eddie Murphy, we would not have had Bill Murray. because
Oh,
the
really?
original casting was meant to be 3 of them: Eddie Murphy, Harold Ramis, and Dan Aykroyd.
Whoa.
But because they didn't get Eddie Murphy, they brought in Bill Murray because they needed someone to be the comedic lead. Well, that
Well,
was what
my-
Eddie Murphy's role was. meant to be.
My understanding of that was they always intended to bring Bill Murray in, but he wouldn't commit until the very last minute.
Hmm.
He didn't commit to the very last minute.
Interesting.
And his performance, I think, in the first one was good, and the rest of them, and including the video game that came out on Xbox 360, that generation of consoles, his heart just wasn't in it. He didn't like it. In fact, in Ghostbusters 2, he refused to be slimed and claimed that it was because of religious reasons. But this one, I think, is perfect. And if they had stopped with this one, that would, it would have been perfect. But 2, not that great. Afterlife, I really enjoyed. Frozen Empire was okay. I still think it was better than 2. But this one, I think this one was perfect, and they probably should have never made any sequels to it. But that's, my opinion. Your mileage, of course, may vary.
All
And
right,
that's
Frank.
Moto.
I absolutely enjoy this movie. It's a great movie. I do agree with you on extent of the sequels. This movie could have stayed just by itself and it would have survived time just fine. It's a great movie. I think I've seen this movie probably about 7 times on a Wednesday at the Tower Plaza Mall when it was 75 cents. Yeah, just that's how much I watched it. Just the scenes of New York alone were cool in the theater. And then like M3 said, I do remember the booby shot. That was amazing.
Sigourney was so hot.
Yeah, I must have seen this movie 100 times.
Yeah.
I have the Mezco 112 collective versions of the action figures, the best, most expensive version. They were in the thumbnail. Bill Murray, he's pretty hilarious as an actor, but pretty unethical as a professor, as he opens the film by hitting on one of his students. He's real good at not giving a shit. I think my favorite line from him in any of the Ghostbusters is actually in the second one, where Sigourney Weaver asks him to put the baby down, and he goes over to the baby and says, "You're short, you're smelly, and you're a terrible burden on your poor mother." Rick Moranis, hilarious as a dog, like, funny as can be. I really love Annie Potts as Janine. I'm still, even though he's dead, I'm still hoping for her and Egon. I actually seem to have an unpopular opinion. I really like the second film. I don't think it was as good as the first by any stretch. And I do think that Afterlife was better than the second one, but I think the second one was better than the fourth. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. I absolutely love it, and we need a 112 scale Ecto 1. But since we don't have one, Raucous is figure of the year. Curtis, go ahead.
Well, I like this movie a lot. I watch it several times a year. All the people that are in it, of course, I love the special effects. It was, I wanted to do more like that in some of the other ones, but didn't happen. So this movie, I gave it a 10 out of 10 for me. And it brings back memories with the family and my kids and stuff as well. And matter of fact, when my daughter comes up here, we'll be watching it together like we do whenever we're together. So and that's all I'm going to say about that, because it was just about that movie.
Awesome.
And that's all I have to say about that.
All right.
Life is like a box of Ghostbusters.
You never know when
Right.
you're gonna get slimed.
But yeah, Ghostbusters
Ghostbusters
is one movie that was completely top tier. Every single person picked it. It is a rank S film, and we'll make it to the end of the season show where we rank all the S ranked movies throughout the decade. However, next weekend we will be doing, or not next weekend, two weeks from today, we'll be doing the MCU. And 2 weeks after that, we'll be back on the 80s to do 1985. But 2 weeks from today, the MCU will be ranking the top 10, our top 10 picks from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And
Beyond
y'all
that,
thought this one was tough.
if M3 will just do a quick catch up with the chat, then we'll all say our good nights and be done here.
Cool, awesome. Bull 80, thanks for coming in. Brian King, OG Skywatch, Doe Studios, all you guys. Doe actually had a lot to say. That's great. Rob 78, Queen B. Oh shit, that's great. Looking at, but you guys, yeah, that went up about, I don't know, good 34 inches there. Is that what you call it? Yeah, about 34 inches. Thanks, Prophet, for doing a great fucking put on, man. It was great show. Like it. Even though 3 hours went by like 5 minutes to me. And sometimes when you
It went on forever for me.
yeah, when you didn't, hey, Prophet,
That's off, Kurt.
Prophet, when you didn't
Caveman ran out of beer.
Prophet, when you
No.
didn't play the-
I'm working on this one. I got one more.
When you didn't play the trailer, sometimes it didn't matter because it was already fucking cycling through my head.
Hey,
Just
and one
like
thing, I want to give a shout out to Prophet. He worked extremely hard on the production value of this whole thing.
Yes,
He's
yes.
taken it up to another level. So we're going to be expecting an infinity level on the MCU. So
What's
that's
MCU
gonna
stand
be
for?
hard.
Marvel
Well, you know, I do have my
Cinematic
own word.
Universe.
Cinematic.
Yeah. Thank you, Prophet.
Well, why doesn't everybody give everyone one last chance to find out where they can find you if you have somewhere you want them to find you?
I don't want you to find me anymore.
You're the Men in
Right,
Black.
he's hiding out because he's trying to kill me.
He's Curtis. is now
Seriously, chat. If I disappear, just know that it was Curtis.
he's the Men in Black. You won't see him coming.
Ed, we know you want to tell us where you're from and what you're about.
Oh, me? Yeah. Geekom World, film, TV, and tech. I'm always looking for people that want to talk or really inspiring people. Caveman and I do a lot of streams together, and we've got some surprises coming up, some big surprises coming up for the podcast. So I recently had a couple streams. Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting, who's a Hall of Fame podcaster, and Daniel J. Lewis. You can check those out on my YouTube channel. Please go there and subscribe. Hit the like button. I'm a small creator when it comes to the YouTube side of it, but I'm growing and I'm learning from a lot of these guys here. And thank y'all for including me in this group and being part of this. This has been spectacular, and I'm so excited for what's to come. And please like, share, and subscribe on everybody's social medias, and let's help each other out. Let's support all of us creators here. Okay. Thank y'all.
I got something to say. I'm going to put Prophet on the spot. I was just going to ask Prophet, are we going to do anything, say, if we get 100 viewers on a live stream?
Maybe we can bring him in.
I mean,
On
if
camera?
we get 100 viewers during the live stream,
Yeah, during a live stream.
I think you're dreaming.
I think
I think I'm
no,
going to die of old age before that happens.
it's not. You got to believe it. It's going to happen. Let's make it happen, y'all.
You don't want it to happen. There's too many people. You can't talk to people at that point. You know.
We're not
You
going to have
think,
100
like,
people
have a
on here.
picture of M3's eggplant or something? Or
Yeah, you get a special eggplant from M3.
Yes,
if
the
we get to
100.
100.
Did you want to pitch your channel before we call it quits?
Hey guys, I am the Digital Caveman as always, and I bring you all kinds of toy reviews, action figure reviews. It's youtube.com/@digitalcaveman with 2 N's. Don't go to that one with 1 N because it's totally gay. And you
Right, there are a
won't
bunch
like
of perverts over there. Ignore that
Yes,
one.
yes. 2 N's is the best. So that's it for all your toy review needs, at least in 1/12 scale.
Nice.
That's where you go.
So we're gonna go ahead and shut down chat, but we're gonna go ahead and throw a link out.
Whoop, whoop.
So that if you want to come backstage, we've got a little bit of space. So you've got 3 minutes. It's 11:30, 11:33. We're shutting it down. If you want to jump in,
Yes, please jump in.
Hey, Kurt, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to say my real fast top 20, starting with number 1, Terminator, Temple of Doom,
Oh, it's too late now.
Ghostbusters,
Now you want to say that. Now you say that.
Gremlins, Neverending Story, Police Academy, Starman, Revenge of the Nerds, Last Starfighter, Next 10, Amadeus, Beverly Hills Cop, Karate Kid, 16 Candles, Romancing the Stone, 2010, Red Dawn, Conan the Destroyer, Cloak and Dagger, and Dreamscape were in my top 20.
I just hear Dr. Evil in my head going, right.
Yeah. You just made that list up like 5 minutes ago.
He made that list up as we were naming off all the movies.
Oh,
Yeah, I was writing them all down. Like, okay, where should I be?
Right. Oh, also, chat, while there's still 2
Nice
minutes
hat,
left to
M3.
jump in, keep in mind we're inviting extra people on for the MCU show. So if you want to be on the MCU show, it might be in your best interest to jump in and have a conversation with us in
Hey,
the
Prophet.
backstage here.
check out. Oh my God.
Love
Come in here and get on
you.
our good side, y'all.
Hey, Prophet.
Right,
check out his
nobody
hat.
heard my announcement because they're all watching M3 juggle some
Look,
two-dimensional boobies.
Juggled t-shirt boobs.
Hey,
Our prophet,
check out his
go
hat.
ahead.
You see his hat, Prophet?
Say that again, prophet. Your announcement.
No, it doesn't matter.
Look at that lion's head. It's dope.
oh yeah, go. It's fucking raised.
It's not
It's
even
black.
in Lions colors, man. It's
Yeah,
just
it is.
disrespectful. It looks like a warthog.
It is in
Great.
lion's colors. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
It's Battle Cat.
Look at it, and it's glory. Detroit motherfuckers.
Atlanta Falcons.
Oh God. Please don't. Go dogs.
Go dogs. Sick of woof woof. So
I got the
I'm
thing
gonna
yet?
say it because Prophet didn't get y'all didn't probably hear him say it. Say it, Prophet. What you were saying?
Oh, I thought he would have been given the
What
middle
was I
finger.
saying? Oh, I was talking about if people want to jump in, if they want to participate in the MCU show, now's your time to jump in and let us know.
Here's the time to come and kiss butt.
Oh, am
Do
I supposed to?
Hey,
Am I
don't say
supposed
stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
I would never want someone to do that for me.
I know. We're joking.
Am I supposed to do the closing and
God,
read
that's just fucking
read the
gross,
thing?
man. I can't even believe you said that.
Because I will. I got it right here. I can read it
Sorry.
real quick.
Oh Lord, he's got a script.
Yeah, I do have a script. I got a damn teleprompter coming. That does it for the show, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and we do appreciate each and every single view that we receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested, wait a minute. That doesn't apply here, so I'm going to skip some. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just to help the channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as the new content becomes available.
Nice.
Oh, and guess
That's
guess
Oh,
what?
right.
folks.
And if you
Wait,
and
wait,
if
wait, I want to say one thing on
if
this.
you leave your top 10 for 1985 in the comments after we shut down the stream, I will mention them in the next episode.
And we'll also get
Top 10 for 1985.
we'll also
But it
get
has to be a legit top
Sorry.
10, Brian King. You can
Yeah,
start top
Brian
14,
and
top
we're,
10.
we're gonna have M.
Top 10.
If we
top
can get
10,
100,
Brian King.
if
Do
we
you
can
hear
get
that?
100,
Old school.
100
Old
views
school.
on
You
the,
should do it, old school. Hey, Ed, I'm just trying real hard right now.
I was trying to get you really. I want to say this is if we can get 100 views on the next stream, M3 will dress up like Black Widow.
No, that's not fair because we get 100 views on the stream like all the time.
okay.
If we mix
Well,
all
we need
the
100
channels that are
followers
playing
then.
it.
No, it has to be live. It has to be
You're
You're
100
talking
live.
100 live viewers. That's a different story because that's
Yeah.
never going to happen. That's the same
It's gonna
kind of
happen.
thing.
It's gonna happen.
That's gross, Ed. I hope I'm in your dreams
Well,
tonight.
are we at time? What time is it? 35. That's a
M3,
wrap,
That's his
folks.
dirty secret. You're in his dreams every night.
Yeah, no. It's
That's a
weird
wrap,
'cause
folks.
I know.
We'll
man.
see
Ed,
you in 2 weeks for the MCU top 10.
Yes.
My stuff's bigger than yours.
It is. It is.